it means to the fans here. The first LCK Cup to be held in Hong Kong, and the first road show here as well. It's pretty huge. I think they really appreciated seeing Caster Judd in person doing that awesome intro. It was really great stuff. As we are getting into the bans already, nothing out of the ordinary here except, you know, an early ban here on Renekton, which we are going to see against Clear.
Yeah, that's not a shock. See the Orion and Rumble here as well for BNK. Two strong picks in isolation for first pick on blue side that D+ do have in their possession, so not shocking. The Varus is another question mark in this draft here that we could see as the Vi and Pantheon are taken away by D+ Kia. Varus has not had the success that his draft priority in bans has, I think, made you assume that he would do in terms of his performances here in playoffs. And they'll ban the Ambessa instead, which is such a strong flex pick here for D+ Kia, and one that they often pick first when left available. So the Varus is up and available if they want to first pick it. There's something else on their mind here. A bit of a meta shift could have happened behind the scenes. And we'll see what their read is. The Azir, obviously the obvious one, was discussed a lot. This pick might be a little bit bait right now because it is simply not finding the success that we expected. And as a result, they will give Diablo the Varus over, and they'll have counter pick for Vikla here in the mid lane. They can also look for a prio jungle pick as well, like the Jarvan or the Xinjiao.
Yeah, definitely still a lot of options. I think you're giving a lot of trust over to Showmaker just to pick him that Azir and hope that he can have a big impact on that. Very curious to see what goes with the Azir over to Lucid. As Varus gets locked in, not a big surprise, and Jarvan is going to come in here.
One of the best answers so far, one of the most common answers, let's say, to the Varus has been the Sivir pick, but picking Sivir into the Jarvan feels really, really rough because of her immobility. And so they will just take this right away and deny that counter pick in the bottom lane. It would be incredibly unusual for Smash to be bold enough to play it here. The Xinjiao, in terms of tier, was the next on the list, and that will come in here, as well as Smash's classic Ezreal pick. Very safe into the Jarvan, a pick that has done a lot better into Varus more recently than it did in the past. As Taliyah was something I was considering when they gave over the Azir here. It has not been a pick that in the LCK we found consistent success with here, but the higher you go in terms of teams, and we are now in our top 3, the performances get stronger. I think Vikla has proven that he's no longer just the solo lane guy, no longer just the pick guy, the hands guy, but he has the macro to back it up this season. And I do think that playing through sides through this Taliyah absolutely can work.
Yeah, definitely a bit of an X factor through Vikla. It was really awesome to see him performing on the TF in their win against Genji in that one game. Certainly does feel like he's expanded his pool, and he's not just playing Morgana mid anymore. We've really gone beyond that for this player, and could have a big impact here. As we're going into the support bans, Leona and Nautilus.
Point click to deny the R press onto Smash makes a lot of sense with this Ezreal that he's picked up. The Leona pairs incredibly well with Ezreal, is very safe in the lane, so it's no shock to see that one taken away. Now Karma could be a consideration here, but they don't really have consistent engage at all if they do lock that in, so I think it's a heavy risk and would only really bail you out of the lane. I don't think it's a great ban. They will opt away from it here and take out the Gwen, which is a big side lane threat on top of the Azir. That would give them double side lane threats, so the Taliyah can only really answer one. So I think that's a smart ban here towards Xiu. A lot of other strong top lane picks are still available, however. See what this final ban will be here. Taking away the Rek'Sai.
Yeah, Rek'Sai kind of a keen specialty, although we do see it from time to time from other players, but definitely very popular at the beginning of LCK Cup. So now you got to decide what your support probably is going to be and then wait for top counter pick here. So what is the Varus going to be going with in the bottom lane?
Well, there's a lot of different picks they could opt for. Even something like a Bard would kind of crush. And I think with this Karma pick, you have a lot more agency because you still have the Taliyah, you still have the Jarvan setup, and you have Chains of Corruption to lead into a shove. Flag Drag could lead into Chains. You know, there's a lot of synergy between these three. The Karma giving you additional speed feels nice, but also it's just going to mean that there is really no pick that Career can lock in here that will give them bottom side prio. And so what does he do? Does he opt to just sit back and defend with something like a Yuumi? I guess that's the answer.
Yep.
It did not work for him very well last time, but we'll see if this is a different look as the blind Scion comes through.
This team doesn't really have engage. I mean, it's got very nice front to back, but starting a fight will not be up to them.
Ooh, and the Gnar here feels like a cherry on top. It's one of Clear's best picks, and it is one that will dominate the Scion lane. You already have the winning bottom lane and mid lane with jungle attention. That's going to be so easy to pull off with Jarvan pre-6. You have so much power with the Taliyah. You have a side lane threat in this Taliyah that can match sides as well and punish sides and try to pinch onto the Azir. And the Scion will never really be a threat, will always be pushed out by the Gnar. So if the lane assignments are strong here for B&K and Smash doesn't get off the ground early, for D+, you are just simply going to have to hope that when you get to that late game, you're not behind, your scaling items are going to hit, your Ezreal's going to hit 2 items, your Azir's going to hit 2 items, and then Smash is going to hit every single Q in every single fight. And Smash, you know what? Luckily for them, is pretty well known for doing that. So there's a lot of trust in this draft for CVMAX to his AD carry, and we're going to be seeing a lot of that throughout this best of 5 tonight with Diablo and Smash here on the stage. As you can see, this arena is fully packed.
It is so insanely full. Like, I don't know how it's coming across on the stream, to be honest, because I don't have it open in front of me, but being here, it looks like every single chair is full. It's actually incredible. Insane stuff. But yeah, this is going to be a very interesting first game. I think if TK can get off the ground, obviously they have a lot of power in their carries, but starting engages can be pretty difficult, and I think B&K have a lot of control with this composition. We are here for the lower finals in Hong Kong. Game 1 will start right now. And Wolf, because we're in Hong Kong, we don't have the Hana Dur set.
There were a few people who tried.
There were some, yeah.
There were some knowers. I think that a lot of people know, but obviously with this many people here, it's hard to coordinate who's going to start that.
Yeah.
It's actually still ongoing. In fact, I see a lot of people doing it. Or hear a lot of people doing it, rather.
Yeah. Well, they're trying, you know, it's good.
I am
good effort.
Incredibly hyped to see Career with a redemption opportunity here on this Yuumi, because this pick can really shape this lane. If you can absorb a lot of the damage with your shield, offer a little bit of poke, way less than you used to be able to do, like Career is doing now. But manage, obviously with no engaged support on the other side, it's difficult to be punished. In this matchup, you can basically trade your health bar for a meager amount of damage and then constantly attach and make sure that Smash has the most health possible to go toe-to-toe in the lane. And we'll use his barrier here, but I think Wise to absorb that empowered Q. And this is a great start here for Smash and Career.
Yeah, I mean, they have to have some semblance of control in the bottom lane. Otherwise, Varus Karma can easily get ahead and be quite annoying. You see that neither side is going to be able to hit level 2 significantly ahead of the other and bully them out of the lanes. So just, you know, double range, a lot of enchanters nowadays in the meta, especially when one enchanter gets picked, the other kind of has to match it. Otherwise, you just fall too far behind. And that's really something they could not risk, especially with a draft like this. And
keeping your eyes on it, you can see eventually, you know, Diablo and Kellen are going to be able to take this health advantage. Barrier already burned, so every single Q that Kellen hits like this wears you down. And with the minion wave blocking the Mystic shots, it's very difficult to actually continue to put that harass in. But they're trying their best, as you can see here. We do have both junglers pathing towards the bottom side of the map, shockingly. And that means I'm bringing the sarcasm out early, Valdez.
I like it. Game 1. Here we go. They're going to the bot lane again. Who could have seen this coming? Yeah, it's just the way it is. Nice dodge there on the Mantra Q.
Career will shield it anyways, but it's going to be this wave crashing. And finally, Diablo and Kellen get the wave to crash through as this lane is supposed to do, but it's a dead even setup here in terms of CS. In fact, it will be a slight lead going to Smash. So again, I think this pick is working its intended role. And again, the game plan here for D+ is Smash will carry. He will have a Yuumi on his back. He will hit every ability. He will get his endless hunger.
Yeah,
and
has
he
a
will
big front line.
He just is going to straight up like have to 1v9 with Showmaker having some peel for him, a little bit of additional damage, obviously, but he is the guy.
Yeah. I thought maybe they were just going to slam the Lulu. I know Ezreal Lulu's kind of a weird lane, but The Lulu with the Xinjiao, really fantastic and kind of fulfills a similar role of, you know, having that enchanter for the team fights a little bit later on. But yeah, it's pretty nice to see the resurgence of Yuumi, although some people will not enjoy that all too much.
It's been a while. They can get over it.
Yeah.
You know? It's a little niche.
I think, you know, if you're hated as a champion for so long, you know, you deserve another shot, right?
Yeah.
Deserve a chance back.
Every champion deserves a second chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll
and,
see this.
Same with career as well, because his last Yuumi game, we always talk about it. He's had a very tumultuous LCK Cup.
Yes, I mean, the player has had obviously a lot of expectations put on his shoulders early because he is Smash's AD carry, one of the most hype AD carries to join since FaZe, frankly, and Viper rejoining the LCK. And he is laning into a lot of really incredible supports that we have here at the LCK. He's one of the newer ones, even though he spent a lot of time in Challenger, spent some time on DRX as well as BNK was mentioned before. And then he played in Kespa Cup and like made a lot of errors there and made the wrong runes. He's just been through a lot very quickly. And now he's like potentially going to, in his first year of LCK, go to first stand before LCK even starts.
Yeah. It's absolutely insane if he can manage that. You see that Raptor is getting very aggressive, and this is kind of what he has to do. You got a winning lane in top. You have Vikla doing pretty well into Showmaker, and then of course Bot's going to push. So you have to use this priority and get ahead of your enemy jungler and try to get your lanes ahead. Although there's not a ton of, you know, ganks that are going to be set up unless Showmaker really oversteps. But still, if you can't find a gank, you got to pressure the enemy jungler. You got to pressure for those objectives.
This timing, though, could be quite strong for Lucid.
Yeah. We'll see if this works out. Raptor is on the bottom side of the map, though, and a ward comes down in vision, so they see him. And nothing much going to happen there, but certainly going to be a lot of pressure on this first Drake. A
lot of time spent, actually, and he's just simply going to back. This means Raptor will get their first dragon. With the prio they still hold, and this is really unfortunate for D+. If they could have been able to deny this or look for a gank, grab some summoners, there's a lot more wiggle room in terms of what you could do here, but instead it's just going to be the expected result, as you mentioned, with the control that Raptor has in his lane prio. So far up here on the top side, Shio's doing a pretty good job of keeping the CS at least, you know, decently even considering the matchup.
Yeah. Thinking for a play here on Vikla, who just does not flash the shove. Now he's going to flash, but I don't know about that. Jarvan coming over, but way too late. First blood given over to Showmaker.
Yeah, a bit of a great timing there for Lucid to come in with Vikla's positioning. He went ghost, obviously, so this is really going to hurt. Dying like this, can surf back. I don't think he's going to Weaver's well back to lane, but I guess it's an option. But the choice to flash there, I think, is the most painful of all because Raptor was somewhat nearby and is quite mobile on Jarvan and did have his Cataclysm, so maybe there's a miscommunication. Like, you know, we see Raptor maybe call out, or you can imagine maybe Raptor is calling out, like, I'm relatively nearby. If you can buy just a little bit of time. But as you can see on the minimap here, he's just finishing the dragon. He is, in fact, quite far away and cannot assist. That last Sand Soldier is going to come up and take him out. So Vikla now down flash, vulnerable for a follow-up gank as well.
I mean, this is the issue when you play into Azir. It's kind of the Azir tax if you're an immobile mage. You just kind of have to flash the shove if you're not 100% sure that you can win the fight. And, you know, if Lucid's ever there, you just die. And that is exactly what happened. So, gotta maybe Vikla trying to be a little bit greedy in the beginning of this match. You can see a lot of damage did go back on a Vikla from Showmaker. And, a lot of Showmaker fans here, as you were mentioning.
Yeah,
just from 2020, he's been around forever, obviously.
He is the king of this arena right now, and no question in my mind.
Yeah.
He got the loudest cheer in walkouts as well, as he is going to get a little bit of damage put onto him by Kellen coming over there, but nothing too impactful. Smash is Ezreal, so does not care about that leash.
Yeah.
And Smash is doing the thing. He's doing the thing, Valdez, where he hits everything and he does a lot of damage.
Notice how Smash, he's not 100%. That Raptor isn't there, so he just flashes away from the tether, and yeah, it feels painful, but he did a big chunk to Kellen for that, essentially, and it gives him some time to put on some pressure in this lane, so it's not all bad. Obviously, losing your flash is not great, but it's that amount of respect that you have to show for the enemy jungler that we didn't see from Vikla.
On first glance, I thought it was just a shift there. I didn't even realize it was flash immediately until you mentioned that. That's actually it.
I think he shifted in and then he got tethered and then he was like,
I think you're right. And that is not ideal, but that is also not surprising for those of us who have been watching Smash. Diablo's like, I would have done the same thing.
280 carries handshake across the rift. Lucid going to be spotted here. We got a wall coming in. Lucid in a bit of trouble. Kellen here first as well. There's just nowhere for Lucid to go. And the chains going to land here onto the Ezreal. Flash damage comes in from Smash. And now Smash, no flash. He's just dead. Nowhere to go. And you see that Career trying to back, but there's no way they're going to let him go. And the second they got the Ezreal, the Yuumi is always just going to be tacked on. And eventually, Vikla takes him down. So 3 kills go the way of BNK on the bottom side of the map.
Showmaker opts not to TP down. He TPs back to lane and is going to get some plate gold in return here with the Crystalline Overgrowth to proc. It's really just 1 he gets, though. Talia can get back to lane relatively quickly. And this is on vision, unfortunately for Lucid. He has a control ward to the right there, so probably thought he was okay, thought he was unseen. Doesn't have flash, unable to get over the wall. And then down here, Kellen flashes forward as well to guarantee the root, which gives the follow-up here for Raptor. And then as you say, when you get 1 with the Yuumi, you get 2 as Showmaker makes the call to TP mid and try to get something back there, knowing that Vikla's at least spending a decent amount of time down here. But this is a huge win for BNK.
Yeah, it's pretty gigantic, and it's really funny. Well, now for Smash rather, but that we were just talking about the flash that Smash did in the trade, and it comes back to bite him big time. If he's able to flash the chains and stay alive with the Yuumi on his back, I think it will be at least more difficult to get the kills underneath the turret. Instead, it's just kind of a freebie here for the side of BNK. And now that's, you know, 1,500 gold in the lead already, right after Showmaker picked up first blood.
Notice the item difference here. You know, the Varus picks up the Ghost Blade already, and it's a cheap item, but with this even small of a gold lead that he has, which is starting to become quite large, he can end up getting a big item lead here, and that shield that Career's trying to put on here just doesn't feel that great when this Varus is charging up these arrows and tossing them into you. As you can see here, Smash is going to shift this one, but may even cost them an additional farm here as they are looking for more.
Oh, the max range chain! Smash is dead again! And Career, well, we just said it before, he is absolutely dead. They're just trying to give the kill over to Diablo, but the arrow at least misses. And a double kill goes to Raptor. We got a TP coming in, though.
Yeah, this is a very greedy choice. Lucid's coming over as well. I don't know if they get anything from this. It's a bit slow.
Yeah, just a little bit slow. And, well, he's going to ult into the wall. And maybe with the smash on Kellen, they will get him. So they at least get the support. But now Clear wins.
Clear doesn't actually even need to use his TP. He's getting so much gold here. I think it's absolutely not worth it. At least you got something. You know, you have to make something of that situation, but bit of a disaster.
As got the dragon at least.
That dragon will go over, as Raptor, you know, had to go back there. So that makes it a little bit better, and that will tie us up one apiece in terms of dragons, but the execution of this was incredibly risky. If Kellen gets away there, it's even worse. He did not have flash, but this Gnar is going to be a bigger problem. This Varus is already a massive problem, and yeah, he picks up Swifties here. He is going to be looking for the same 2-item spike that Ezreal has, but obviously he's massively accelerated in his first item.
Look at how far behind Smash is in the quest, actually. I mean, he's like 75% done. BNK's 80 carry Diablo, he just finished that. So
not to mention, he also just went to the top lane to clean up the mess from the bailout that she had to go for there on the bottom side, so he's not getting that really important experience or quest experience that he needs. And so that is really unfortunate for him, because the longer you spend without your quest completed as the AD carry, the less money you're generating from anything, but specifically minions as well, really starts to add up how much you can get as Showmaker looks to shove.
Trying for it. Remember, Diablo does not have his flash. Shutdown goes in. Showmaker gets away from the Jarvan for now, but Raptor comes in. Vikla's here as well. Big shove onto the 2 of them. And Career not able to get on in there onto Lucid, as Lucid going kind of crazy mode right now. Is going to have the cat on his back as well, but eventually does go down. And Career this time will waddle away.
I think it's worth there to get the last kill, and Career gets away this time. So as you mentioned, I think it ends up being fine. I think that was the right call to go back in on that one, but initially looked a lot better for D+ than it ended up being at the end of the day. So I don't think that Raptor has the flag to interrupt the back here from Career a second time, but going to this play here, it's a great choice to go on to Diablo, because as you mentioned, they know he doesn't have flash. Shuffle comes through, but Vikla actually, look at the angle he takes from the bottom lane. It's one that I don't think D+ really expected. And the Cataclysm comes through, buys just enough time, and then this shove is phenomenal. Career cannot rejoin for a while, And Lucid's like, all right, well, I'm just going to send it here. Goes for the play, forces Vicla's flash, and then goes in deeper. Career detaches early to get out, so he survives this time around. I think they made the best they could out of a terrible situation there. Initially looked great, but Vicla saves the play.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a save from him. You know, I was talking about how I expected a lot from him, especially in terms of champion pool in this series, as he has been showing nowadays. Obviously, did have the bit of a whoopsie by not flashing the divide earlier on in the game, but he's going to be a big difference maker. Absolutely. Somebody has to match Showmaker, and obviously the guy on the other side of the rift in the same role will be the first guy you would look to.
Money that Kellen has is not negligible because he has about a Oblivion Orb extra worth of gold over his opponent, and that's actually really important. Playing into Yuumi is actually going to feel really nice for him to have that. Then he can proc it very easily as Vicla? No way, right?
Yeah, yes way. Talia really very much struggling into the Scion, and Shove is going to miss. He gets axed down by Scion. Shiu with the solo kill on a Vicla. And that's whoopsie number 2, Wolf.
There's a big chance erupting here after that one. Bit of a mix-up, mess up, bit of a whoopsie. You know, you said it already. Not much else to say about that one. That one is not supposed to happen. But a good punish from Shiu, who doesn't even need to use his summoner to secure the kill there. So,
yeah.
It's certainly going to take a little bit of the wind out of B&K Sales. They're still in a favorable position in this game, no doubt. The Showmaker's going to get pushed away here. The Dragon is up in 90 seconds. It is the Hextech Soul, so an incredibly valuable Dragon. Whoever does end up pulling ahead on this one, but Herald is topside. It is live first. We have this group up faster for B&K, and we will just after the caster curse, shame Vicla here a little bit. He hits the slow, and then instantly Shiu is just like, I ult you. Yeah. Man, Vicla should have just spaced a little bit better here, and unfortunately the shove misses, and he still commits the Ghost, hoping that it was going to hit and that would have bought him enough space. It does not. Yeah. So he's also down Ghost as well.
I mean, Scion, you just got to respect him. Like, he does look like he would kind of be just a punching bag, but I think especially a lot of mid laners, you know, they don't have a lot of experience playing in a Scion, so that will happen where it's like, oh, he can't do anything to me. I'm just going to harass him under turret, and then all of a sudden, you know, especially without your flash. Like, if you can flash the ult, then sure, you can put on the pressure. That was not the case.
So clear as, hold on, our thoughts on this one is we may have a bit of a fight here.
Trying to burst him in the bush. Because the Herald's up and the Dragon's coming up. You can see that B&K really trying to control the vision there.
Does have this teleport advantage here in the side lane as well as a wave pushing, so he could join if he wants to. He's going to back right now, which makes this a bit of a timer that B&K are on to secure this quickly. Back is spotted though, so I think they feel pretty confident they could take this. Even stopping the back is pretty massive. If they get Herald and then can contest for this Dragon, it is a double win here for B&K, especially again considering that Vicla did not have TP. Does have his Weaver's Wall available, and they are set up on vision. Look at the vision for B&K. All those red wards around the Drake Pit and the entry, and even around both sides of the Raptor camp. They are going to have full information here. TP for Diablo gets him back to the mid lane. They secure the Herald, and they should be able to also grab Dragon.
Yeah. I think for D+Kia, you kind of have to respect B&K's strength right now, you know, especially before your Azir and Ezreal are online. And they don't have vision, they don't have control, they've fallen behind in this game. I feel like that's all kind of expected, and I think the right call is to kind of just let at least one Drake go over. Maybe you let a second one go over. Lucid is here, though, and they do want to fight this, actually, kind of. As Showmaker's not here, this is going to be secured by Raptor, and Lucid, he's going to be walked into the pit. Now he doesn't have his flash. We got TP coming in, as DK are like, who cares about item spikes? We want to fight right now. And they don't even have a jungler anymore. Lucid about to go down. There he goes. As Smash as well being slowed up. There's the big ult into the wall. Catches 2 and make it 3 with the Yuumi. They take down Smash. And that's about all they're going to get as DK just waddle away as well.
There's been so much of this game that has been played by D+, almost as if, you know, it's the Wadid principle, you know, playing not to lose, like, or playing really like as if you have already lost. In committing to this fight, going for the Hail Marys, another Hail Mary in a series of
Didn't have to do that.
And like, in this fight, in this scenario, you don't have any control. You have to know that the Gnar has TP. He's going to be able to join at a moment's notice. Both top laners waiting for the judgment call, right, as the TPs come through. The positioning of the TP here for Shiu isn't even really favorable. Clear has Mega Gnar. He's charged it at the correct time. And D+ committing to this fight you're locked in. Like, there's a Talia there. The Gnar bar is still set. He ends up having a massive Gnar as they go over the wall here. And the Yuumi shielding is not enough to win you this fight. You don't have the skirmishing power here anymore. And I think they thought they were at a closer game state than they were, hoping that maybe the Varus wasn't going to be able to do enough long-term damage and that then the Ezreal would carry. But the Ezreal doesn't have 2 items, like you said. And that was a bit of a flop for D+. It might have cost them the end of this game. Like, there was still an in, but now there's not.
Absolutely does feel that way, Wolf, as they're trying to punish Clear here. Might just be able to. No flash on him, and that will be a kill. A shutdown going over to Showmaker. We got a big push in mid, though, as BNK looking to get a bunch back. They're also going to get some turret plates in top lane and really try to solidify this lead.
Yeah, it's a kill. That's the win that you're getting. It's a kill for no kills, but in terms of the gold, not really being the win I think D+ were hoping for. Plus, that was Showmaker committing his teleport for it because there's no pressure anywhere else. Vikla can get that plate there topside and then back to defend this turret. If Showmaker got the kill with this TP gank and they were able to get the whole turret, you'd feel a little bit differently about this. As this is just really aggressive play from Lucid, and I think he's the one who makes the call to Showmaker, like, I think we can actually kill this guy. His Gnar is fading. And they do get the kill, but they can't really get much else here, as there were a ton of pings from Vikla saying, I'm grabbing his plate for the return. And so as you can see, the gold lead really hasn't changed despite that pick.
Yeah, it's very similar to what we were seeing before, which was like 4.4K. And yeah, I mean, essentially the best part of it for DK, if there is a best part, is that you give a bunch of money over to one of your main carries in Showmaker and hope that he can, you know, get a little bit of a snowball going himself and maybe carry a little bit later on, which is why I expected them to just give the Drake up instead of fighting the last time, but maybe the pressure getting to them, as they could have easily waited for the Azir to be more online with this Ezreal, who has now completed 2 items, but is 0 and 3. Vikla is, you know, he's really embracing the chaos today, Wolf. Yeah. I don't know what has gotten into him, but he's very excited to be here in Hong Kong.
It's classic Vikla, as we're going to have to check the best friend indicator for Yuumi with how much time his career has spent with Lucid in this mid-game as well, which I do think is correct, given the game state. Give Lucid more agency. He's on 2 items. The Ezreal has only just now gotten 2 items, but it's just so irrelevant compared to Diablo. I think trying to put the Yuumi on the Xin Zhao and say, let's see what we can find. Let's see if we can force some unfavorable positions here for BNK could be the way. But yeah, the lead here in the bottom lane cannot be overstated right now. And for BNK, as long as you don't make an error, BNK fans are looking at you, Vikla. We should be able to see them control this next dragon to go up to Soul Point.
Yeah.
The fact that Vikla doesn't have TP means he needs to kind of stick around, as it's like he's just going to assume that this Scion is gone, and there is just going to be, that's going to be accurate, and they're going to get this wave pushed in.
Smash has been stopped on a back twice now.
Yeah, this is rough.
And he doesn't have any money. I mean, he might just die. He has to barrier. And if you give Diablo this much of a lead, he will take over your game and make it all about him.
He's upset that he's not playing the Ezreal, but I guess he'll just take the Ezreal away.
Yeah.
And finally, the cooldown boots do come through here for Smash. Has been starved of money, but he really wants that 3rd item so desperately. And in this game state, I don't even know if he prefers going for Shojin or the Endless Hunger. It's not a comfortable place to be, and he has no money. And BNK are looking to TP here to mid with Diablo, who picks up his 3rd item, as they are looking for Soul Point, and I just don't think D+ should be anywhere near this.
Nice dodging here from Lucid, as Vikla, once again, he is putting his face in it, has to flash away. We got a Scion going in. Kellen's just going to flash out of the way, and that means that Vikla and Diablo are in big trouble, as the Scion is behind them. They do take down Lucid, though, and now the Scion alone is not able to do too much. Smash being bullied in the front line, gets taken out, and the damage and the wallets are too big for the side of BNK. Bait them into the fight, as Vikla says, I got him this time.
The draft here for D+ certainly had its ins. It certainly had the ability to scale and maybe smash the 1v9 angle. That dream could have been real if they didn't fall behind with really little prio in this game with the draft they had. And from behind, when your engage is Xin Zhao with Yuumi and hoping for the best, or perhaps a crazy Scion flank, that at this lead, at this deficit for D+, there just isn't a whole lot of agency for you with this composition, and you're hoping this game goes 40 minutes plus if you're going to have any chance of getting back in. And this isn't even the cleanest start here for BNK in this fight. Raptor is so far away. Vikla has to flash, and they have the Scion coming through. but it's not an even game state. Lucid loses most of his health here, and Smash has to play aggressively to get anything done. That's a numbers game they just simply aren't going to win. Like, he's just hitting a Xin Zhao here. The rest of the team can group up, and Diablo's health is low, but he's got such high range that he can follow up so easily to shoves like this from Vikla. The lead is just too much.
Yeah, it really is, and, you know, this is probably the worst soul that DK could be facing right now. When you got Talia and Varus, I mean, it's really ridiculous. Even the flag and the karma, like, if BNK get the soul, I mean, the game is essentially over at this point with a 9,000 gold lead for BNK and the comp they have. But as you mentioned, maybe if we go another 15 minutes, we could make something of it. But instead, it's just going to be Xiu going down.
Xiu trying to make a big play, but sadly will just come up empty-handed. I think they know. They have been playing as if, in some ways, that this game was only desperate attempts. Like, that's the only way back in, which I think is a pretty accurate assessment. It doesn't feel great when they don't work. But I think they're thinking more about game number 2 right now, Valdez.
Yeah. Not the closest one to start this one off, but I think we had an inkling when we saw the draft and then saw the way the beginning of the game did play out. And I think DK is definitely going to have to go back to the drawing board. They showed some signs of life in this game, but very quickly after that, it fell very quickly in favor of BNK. 11,000 gold here, the lead for BNK.
Showmaker's farmed an incredible amount, does have a 20 CS lead over Vikla. He has the smallest gold deficit, and that will decrease as he grabs his bounty on the turret. But what does that necessarily mean? What does that translate to in this game where he will just be burst down by so many different threats? The Gnar is really unanswerable by the Scion insides. And Smash, you know, we talked about that 3 items he wants real bad. He's 0 and 4, and he grabs a longsword on his most recent back. He is so far away from anything, as he's, I guess you could say, happy to see these safe minion waves to farm with the super waves coming through. That's the only good news.
Scaling opportunity, playing into waves that constantly crash and give extra money. But our teams here at the LCK are some of the best in the world, and they're very good at punishing moments like this. So would imagine that BNK can just group up in top, use the last of their Red Bull Baron power play, and then probably group up for that final Drake and try to end it there. It's still relatively early, right? It's only 26 minutes in. So they're really trying to get as much out of this as possible. The very, you know, the dregs of the Red Bull Baron power play come in. They're going to utilize as much of that as possible to try to hit this turret. As in, Lucid is going to go, stacks up the Q. Vikla just flashes away. The Raptor goes very hardcore into that backline, immediately just dies. But look at Clear bouncing in the backline, takes them out. As BNK, Fear X, no fear. They dive the turrets, and they get a lot out of it. They didn't necessarily have to do that, but you know what? They're going to get the tower for their troubles.
Yeah, when Xiu falls here, they should be able to actually chip away and take out this inhibitor as well, which would be the 3rd and final, which would guarantee that Dragon is all. But, I mean, I cannot even imagine a world where if BNK took their hands off the keyboard, D+ could get the Dragon with 3 inhibitors down. They don't need to end here, but that is enough. And yes, the execution of that could have been a lot cleaner from BNK. They could have been a lot more patient. They could have waited for an additional wave. As it's heroics from D+. Like, we could be honest about that. The situation here is very aggressive from Lucid. BNK played this slow, then they put a lot of damage into Lucid. He actually gets so much value here because of it, and Showmaker goes low, and then everyone's just deciding, okay, we got to all in on Showmaker. Showmaker just has a great flash here, grabs the kill. The crowd goes wild when Showmaker survives here.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's not really going to be enough to turn the tides, as D+ stave off the pressure to some extent with that aggressive play from Lucid. They buy themselves an extra lease on life, but there's still 3 inhibitors down here at 27.5 minutes.
Yeah, now they're trying to make a play on a Showmaker, at least Vikla is, as the wall bounces him into the shove. Very cute play, but Showmaker is his ear and just kind of brushes it off.
Don't know if Dragon's on the menu here, Valdez.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be, but that is the safer play, BNK. Maybe trying to make a statement and play with their waves while they can, at least. They have a lot of poke, right? So they can kind of just sit here and take the Hex Gates out if anything gets a little bit hairy. And Lucid's already half health. This is what I was talking about. Like, you have this Yuumi, but you're dealing with so many fed poke champions. Showmaker dodges everything. As now, Xiu gonna go in and send it one last time But Raptor surviving, gets in, flag and drags into the backline. Lucid creates a lot of space. The GA is popped, but I just think the wallets are too heavy at this point in the game. As down will go Showmaker tries to make the play, and he does scoop up one, but that's only Vikla, and your Nexus is exposed. BNK looking like the much stronger team here in game number 1, and they want to send a message as well with the last minutes of gameplay as they're trying to take all of them out, but they'll just take down the Nexus and move ahead in the series 1-0.
127 is the gold lead for Showmaker, the only player with a gold lead that matches his team color there on blue side. The fan favorite trying to make it happen in the mid-game onward. Aggressive side laning, some very aggressive play there in those final moments alongside Lucid. I do think we could say Career had a much better performance on the Yuumi this time around, but it was not about the support play. It was not about the support gap. It was about a bit of a prio and draft gap here. But we did see BNK take control early, and Diablo took over the game. This Varus was way too big to fail. And even though there were some funny moments, and Vikla did end up getting solo killed by Shiu in the side lane, they had a comp that had the global of that Talia. They took control of the map early. Their vision game was strong. And we talk about this team. We have talked about this team for so long, as it's a team that ganks early, hyper-aggressive, almost LPL style. But in 2026, this team also macros, Valdez, and they just did not let go of the map.
I mean, it's very obvious that BNK has leveled up big time here at the LCK Cup for 2026. I mean, even getting that game off of Gen G was surprising. DK was also able to do the same. Don't want to take that away from them, but BNK looking much stronger so far here at the lower finals in Hong Kong. Crazy stuff as BNK looking good, but they still have to play through an entire best of 5. DK coming off of a reverse sweep victory against T1, and they have some experience with that, so BNK will have to play it safe and hope not to go down in the long run. As 5 games may await us here, guys, we're going to take a break and go to the space. We will be right back.
내가 이거 좀 리스크 지고 해볼게. 나 풀있거든.
나도 가인이라. 아, 근데 이런 포켓하면 이기겠다. 야, 사형 기절한다. 사형 뭐? 내가 맞을게. 내가 맞을게. 맞아. 아, 근데 이거 싸우자.
아재를 큐
싸우자. 나 가인이야. 싸울 거야. 아, 아재를 앞라인. 나 가인이야. 나 가인. 나 이기.
앞라인 쳐봐. 앞라인.
나도 잡아봐. 나 살아. 근데
어라. 다 치면 끝날 듯. 나이스.
아, 싸우자. 나 펜타. 아, 맞다. 나 빨렸어.
끝내.
And at least go even. You know, I guess it didn't necessarily have to win, but they had to not get crushed, but then they got crushed, so kind of the game flew out the window from there. Anyway, we are jumping into the draft of game number 2, and this time,
pick second pick, so this has been the trend so far today. BNK will take blue side, so it ends up being the R5 here for D+. The Orianna is taken away. I think Pantheon, surprisingly to no one, will be the second ban, as the meta and bans have been pretty stagnant here in LCK Cup, but I think that makes sense. The Poppy ban's a little bit more unique here. It doesn't necessarily tell us a whole lot, but it could be something like a Lee Sin that is being considered amongst other strong champions that go for mobility.
Yeah.
And Lee Sin has been very popular in LCK Cup playoffs. Now, Ryze is certainly the pick that I think stands out the most, which is likely to be available. The Vi we expected to be banned. We weren't sure if it was going to be by BNK because they have first pick or by D+. So if you ban Rumble here, they will pick Ryze, and it is very powerful. That's why first pick is so strong early in the series. And I don't think there's really any alternative pick here in my mind, unless you want to pull out Clear's Renekton or something like that. That is, again, player specific. So let's see what D+'s answer is. The Cassiopeia from Showmaker last time around looked pretty good.
Yeah.
And maybe that is what they are looking to reply with here. And I think that's why there's some consideration about Clear's Renekton. Instead, Ashe.
Okay.
Ashe Seraphine is on the board, but at least one half of it.
It's very strong. You know, a lot of priority and Drake stacking. It's huge in this meta, and Ashe Seraphine has really risen to the top as the most dominant bottom lane. So they say, yeah, Ryze is strong, but you know what's even better is Ashe Seraphine.
We saw Karya try to pull out the Yuumi himself as the answer, but the Yuumi is gone now because it was played and fearlessly banned.
Yeah, Zero Yuumi.
And so now, see what the response is going to be, as Wukong can also be a great way to play through Ashe Seraphine. But the cool thing about Ashe first pick here is if they can't deny the Seraphine, which I suppose there's a lane they could come up with here. You know, we've seen like Senna Seraphine in the past. Works well with Wukong. Senna is not very meta at all. It has been changed significantly since then, as they're going to look for the Ziggs. Now you can get Mundo at Ashe Seraphine, which is the Giga Trio for this setup. And it works incredibly well into Wukong. And I think even with the Ziggs here, you probably just slam it.
I don't really see any reason not to. I think Mundo should be just fine to go along with this. Seraphine, obvious. But
Mundo's just so good into Ziggs because he just doesn't care about the burst damage.
I mean, you could like maybe go for, you know, the Ryze we were talking about, so they are going to go for that. There were also like other top tier junglers that maybe you consider just because of their tier level, but they're just going to go for the Ryze instead.
If BNK somehow get, because they also can get Seraphine here. This draft already feels so difficult to play for me for D+. This will make it a little bit easier, as they do have strong engage. They could have gone for the Rakan. Poppy is banned, you know, but again, I think this Nautilus pick gives you so much engage, so much lockdown, but it's still a melee, right? And
yeah,
I like it in some regards, right? But there are two real threats here already, and you're playing into the Seraphine, so it's going to be tricky. But now, like, Mundo, Sejuani, Renekton also. This is a problem that they were going to have to face. They're not going to be able to ban all of these. So let's see what the game plan is going to be here for D+. The second pick is not looking great so far.
Yeah, Mundo's pretty obvious. You know, you passed over that for the Ryze, and you feel pretty good to get the Ryze, but it means you don't get Mundo. And I do worry for career in this game. Playing in that bottom lane, Smash should be okay on the Ziggs, and he has some wave clear. I do worry about early dives as well, though. If Raptor gets like an aggressive jungle and they can look for dives, especially once Vikla hits 6 on the Ryze, I think that bottom lane could absolutely be terrorized.
Cassiopeia is so obvious because they need consistent damage, and it's the Ryze counter pick. The Lee Sin gets taken away here. Sejuani, I do think, works well with a lot of champions that are available here for BNK in that top lane, and works really well with Ashe Seraphine. So, surprised to see the Lee Sin here instead. I mentioned it all the way back with that Poppy ban that it was going to be up in stocks, but the ban is pretty crazy. As we'll see what this final ban could be here. If you're playing Victor in this draft as D+, you are real desperate. I don't think they're really worried about that. This Olaf ban makes a lot more sense to me.
Nice.
Because it is one of the only picks that can just run through that CC and get access no matter what, to then allow the Ziggs to follow up, the Wukong to follow up. The Yone will be taken away. It was something I think Clear could have actually played in this draft if they went the Sejuani route. But this is so greedy. You're playing this into the Ashe Seraphine.
Yeah, and into Ryze, which you're just going to get bullied early on. Obviously it's Yone for Showmaker, like he can make some big plays later on, but early on, I think DK are just, again, Like,
Backs
what do they
against the
do?
wall.
What do they do?
This is more than game one. I feel such a draft that's grasping at straws for D+. We got a huge cheer in the crowd when Showmaker's Yone is locked. The crowd is ready to see what happens, but we already talked about this. We knew it was coming. We knew it was coming, and I think D+ did as well. They have the counter pick. They picked second pick. But I think getting the counter pick for the Renekton in the face of everything else that's in this draft just feels real rough. And they'll take the Trundle instead of the Sejuani. And that's pretty strong here, obviously, into this draft, and it messes up a lot of what D+ Kia are trying to do.
I think that's just fine, you know. And yeah, maybe you get counter pick, maybe you get something like Kennen. You know, there's not a lot of great options for counter picks into Renekton, who's generally blind pickable. And maybe you could go for like Aurora or something. Gwen actually,
I do feel is quite strong. The Aurora you mentioned is what they opt for instead, and she has mastery of both. And so both options feel really good in terms of consistent damage output. The Aurora damage output is a little bit more burst oriented, so fits the comp in that theme where you're looking for the Ziggs bomb, you're looking for the ult that you get dropped here between worlds from Xiu, and then he drops the weirding, and he's doing massive amounts of damage to anyone who's caught inside. And then the Yone follows up, sets it all up with the Wukong ultimate. The problem is Seraphine's just kind of looking at everyone running towards you in those types of choke points and those types of narrow engages that you're looking for, and she loves that. Yeah. That's where she thrives. A pillar is looking at that the same way. Oh, you're all trying to funnel through this one choke point to set up a really nice combo. It'd be a shame if there was a pillar in the way to interrupt all of that.
Well, you know, DK, their drafting seemingly got better in the second half of the series against T1. Even CV Max said it himself in an interview. He said, you know, I think you guys played well, but I think the drafts kind of handicapped you in the first couple of games. He said that about himself playing up against T1. So, you know, I think you and I are kind of on the same page where I think BK's drafting has just been a little bit better. They have more obvious team composition, identities, and stuff like that, whereas DK, you know, they have ways to win, sure, but just doesn't feel like they're getting very many edges here in the draft compared to BK. So a lot on the line. They don't want to fall behind 0-2 again, but we'll see if that indeed happens as we hop onto the rip for game number 2. I was waiting. I think I heard some fighting cheers.
They're going to have to discuss it before tomorrow's game.
Maybe tomorrow, yeah. The grand finals tomorrow,
maybe
of course.
The Cantonese commentators can select like 2 people, just randomly do a little like drawing of seats. Like you just pick 2 seats. Whoever's sitting in those seats has to yell. Do it. Doesn't matter how tired or shy they are, or if they're like lost their voice yelling during today's games. They're the ones.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if they're the fan of the other team. Too bad you got designated.
Well, maybe the casters themselves could do it.
Yeah, maybe you and I could do it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not putting that pressure on us.
We could do it.
They can't really hear us that well.
So, especially early on, like, yes, Ziggs can clear waves and stuff, but, like, not that well early on. And you have a Nautilus, so you just die.
Yeah, no, it's the thing is your support can't shoot far. That's the thing.
Can't shoot at all.
That's the thing. He can't hit from range. And if he hooks, he's putting himself into range to be hit more often by the 2 ranged champions that are on the other side. So yeah, he will choose not to do so for obvious reasons. If the level 2 gets hit by a smash and Career sets up a hook and they satchel into turret, that is the only way you can really hope for anything to happen in this matchup. Instead, you will then, if you don't have that, if you don't have those angles, which you are unlikely to have, you will just be sitting under turret and being glad that you went for a teleport on this Ziggs, because you're going to need to use it.
Fans very hype about the Yone for Showmaker, but especially early on can be very difficult to deal with. Vikla on the rise has the range advantage. You see that at the bottom lane, the Ziggs with teleport, you know, again, I was mentioning mainly that early on it's going to be difficult, but you get teleport, you can get back, and essentially Career's job is stand there and hit his shield and try to block damage for the Ziggs. As Clear's going to go in on a tree. There's a big wave behind him, but he wants to kill. Gonna go through this entire wave.
Gets the heal from the wave as well. That's really well played there from Clear. That's how you want to play this one. Didn't have the empowered Q, but it's still a big one, and now has this wave here he can hit again.
He lost all the minions under turret, though, so it's a good trade, but at the end of the day, It's not going to be catching up in that CS number very well.
Lucid's also coming up here. Pretty interesting. I think he expects Clear wants to go for another all-in, perhaps a flash-empowered Q with full fury, and he wanted to punish it. Not going to happen, though, as Clear's just... He's too low himself, I think, to actually try to make that type of play.
Yeah.
But Lucid is still just prepared for that possible eventuality.
So Raptor hanging around the bottom side of the map. And Vikla level 4, though. So I feel like it's still a little bit early if you're going to look for dives. And in fact, Smash and Career have been able to push out the waves, so not in danger of that right now. Showmaker got a very good trade in mid, though.
Yeah, and ultimately, if you look at the CS between the top laners on this crashing wave here, it's not too bad for Clear, all things considered, in a matchup that is very difficult to play out early on. This is, again, arguably some would say Clear's best champion. I think I might be in the sum. I like it alongside his Gnar. His Rumble has been one of his best on his best days, obviously.
Rumble's not a champion anymore, actually, Wolf.
Yeah, well,
because it gets banned every single game.
Yeah.
So don't have to worry about that. Maybe in Game 5 or Game 4 if they really want to ban out other stuff, but it seems very difficult and dangerous to leave that up.
Showmaker does have a pretty hefty wave to catch here, which would even up the CS significantly if he could do so.
He's doing a really good job in this lane. You know, I was expecting him to have a lot more trouble than this.
And as we watch him miss quite a few of these under all that pressure, but like you said, better than expected. Vikla's really putting the pressure on here now, though. It's a tough matchup because your melee and Ryze has great wave clear, so every time you try to play to your Unbound Soul, you're taking so much damage from minions. Smash has already used his teleport, and he is supportless, so Plate Gold is just raining upon Diablo and Kellen here early on.
Yeah, raining from the sky.
They're just sitting here saying, you know, it's raining outside a little bit here in Kowloon, and we're going to drop plate money on you as well, as Kellen does not quite connect there. Could have been a massive opportunity. Showmaker gets his Berserker's Greaves. That is a big spike for the early laning phase. Raptor, I don't think is going to be able to do anything here to impact the lane, but should be able to play through the Prio and start this Dragon. As Wukong is also, one of the problems when you don't have Prio in a game like this, is Wukong can't really do a whole lot pre-6, and the Trundle, on the other hand, is very happy to take early Dragons through said Prio.
Yeah.
And he's a great skirmishing jungler early, so it's really difficult for Career and Smash to really make a play here. They cannot even enter.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they kind of want to do something, but it's just a smite on the Dragon. We got an ult down on a Vikla, as immediately Showmaker is forcing Vikla out of this one. Flash comes forward, and down will go Vikla. Just like that, Showmaker warping the game around his Yone.
Just like he did in Game 1. And it's a very similar situation where Vikla uses his flash late after his demise is almost certain, as Raptor's trying to come over, but was once again busy on the Dragon. It's 2 games in a row. We had the same scenario here. Also commits his Ghost, so big win for Showmaker in this mid lane.
Showmaker's just not missing Q3s, and the same thing happens here in this replay.
Just on the edge of it, turns it into the ultimate, and Vikla is dead. Vikla opts, though, to flash and Ghost when Lucid is right there. And Raptor had it. I think he was a little bit tunneled there. Either way, still has the early game Rise power, but feels a little bit less now.
I don't know what's gotten into Vikla, but he's on the big stage, and he's trying to make big stage plays. But to us, who are feeling a little bit more calm than him right now, it just feels like he's being a bit over-aggressive. And, you know, it can pan out well if you do end up making the big play, but you got to be careful about giving Yone any into this lane, because now he's ahead in gold. He's tied up the CS, essentially, and having that Rise power is going to be significantly delayed, and the Yone can do stuff, as we do have some pressure in top lane. Clear gonna zigzag back and forth, even flashes away. Career kind of reconsidering it, but is gonna go in with the flash and the dredge line, and he does not miss those, and will pick up the kill here for Xiu.
Huge win for Career, playing so confidently on this Nautilus pick again. Hits the dredge line. Renekton's hurt box is quite large. The dredge line also can be pretty easy to hit on a target like this. It has a pretty big hitbox itself, but for Clear here, he flashes pretty early because he wants to build space Unfortunately, it's still slowed here by the ultimate from Shiu, and then Career, he tries to sidestep it. If he sidestepped it anymore, he would have died anyways. Just really good timing here from Career, and they've been judging the aggression from Clear very well this game so far, and now it's a 20 CS lead here, and D+ pull ahead 1,000 gold off of these 2 kills.
Yeah, I really personally liked B&K's comp, especially early on. But, you know, having the Aurora to deal with the Renekton in top lane has helped out DK a lot. And also, I feel like DK are just playing better than League of Legends so far. And the draft is what it is, but, you know, you got outplays from Showmaker, you got great plays from Career with the great roam timing up to top lane. That's how you're going to win with a comp like this. And yeah, you know, some of those draft issues will still be there, like the Seraphine and the Trundle into so much aggression. But, you know, if you get ahead, maybe you can warp the game around yourselves.
I definitely am picking up what you're putting down, and I do look at this. Okay, Smash, let's see. He's fine. I mean, there's so many things he has to dodge, by the way. The arrow is still there. The Encore is still there. It is pretty tough to play out. He is massively behind in terms of farm, and he wants to defend these plates. There's a lot of factors to consider here. I think for Clear, that was a really nice play from Career, and she helps set it up. I definitely feel less bad about that one. For Vikla, it kind of felt like he had the blinders on a little bit with his overextension there, and then his commitment of the summoner spells. Gonna have to tighten that up a little bit, but still, even with this gold deficit, composition-wise, B&K feeling very comfortable in this early game.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens with this Trundle taking the jungle away from Lucid as well, because this Prio on the bottom side is so oppressive.
Yeah.
They can walk up to Wolves and say, I mean, are you interested in contesting this? Let's find out.
Well, there's the smite. And Raptor still a subjugate and flash. I think he's totally safe. Like, he's just going to use it there. We get the charm onto the Nautilus in the bot lane, by the way. It looks like he is okay. And it's actually Lucid who's in trouble, although Vikla kind of just goes over to the right side, maybe fooling them with the clone a little bit there. And Lucid gets out scot-free.
Yeah, definitely not the angle Vikla wanted to take there. And for Lucid's sake, he's definitely very happy with the result. Like you mentioned, the charm did go down here in the bottom lane. With these summoners down, actually, or these ultimates down, it's a lot more comfortable for Smash, but he has to be careful still.
Yeah, Smash walking up in a melee, well, into range of Ashe autos is not what you want to see. He needs to be sitting back, clearing the waves, like he can with the Lost Chapter. Like, this is the spike that Ziggs is looking for to kind of take away some of that pressure from the Ashe Seraphine, but instead he walks up to Ashe and takes 75% of his health.
Now, I mentioned they had the ult advantages, so this is going to be annoying to deal with, but nothing too consequential. They had the ult advantages, but neither of those ultimates really win you these 2v2s, except with weird circumstances, right? Like, for example, if they were trying to dive, the Nautilus ultimate is incredible, but when you hold the Ashe and the Seraphine in place with the Nautilus ultimate, Ziggs is like, I already pressed my buttons, you know? He gets one empowered auto, but he's not an 80 carry, so he can't use it that well. And I think he was still playing as if he was an 80 carry and not an awesome dude, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And they ended up getting pretty punished there. Now, neither of these bottom layers had to expend critical summoners after that. And the cleanse is still up for Career here with the Unsealed Spellbook with a swap there. And Smash does, in fact, still have his flash.
Oh. So Diablo has been forced to stay in lane this whole time. He's not able to get a buy off. Whereas Smash is TP. And they're actually just going to get a hook here onto the Seraphine. Kellen, no Encore. He might just have to flash the wall. And there it is. Showmaker looking maybe to ult on in. But
that could just be Dragon here for D+. I think it likely will be. And it was really good pressure applied there by the bottom duo. Like you mentioned, the TP is there for Smash. He's going to use it to come straight back to lane, so he can push this wave in and out.
Hextech again.
It is Hextech again. Now, Diablo has to make a tough call. Does he want to back here with low mana or stay? If he backs, he's going to lose so much on this turret as Raptor's coming in looking for a play.
Here we got the collapse coming on in. Subjugate not utilized on time, and he flashes away and just dies to Lucid.
Vikla is overcommitting as well.
Yeah, should be able to get this kill, though. We'll see what happens after that as he will flash the wall and get away.
All right, I spoke too soon on that one. His flash is going to be good over the fat wall there to escape. But D+ are really starting to generate some massive advantages here in this game. Now, the bad news is that a lot of that is on a Wukong. It's not going to be utilizing the gold in a bad way, but he wanted to have it elsewhere. As this commitment was a bit bizarre to me because Vikla is so far away and you're playing into a Wukong. The subjugate was late. Diablo doesn't have mana and he was not in position to follow up. I think Raptor really just very ambitious with that one. Vikla is at least able to save it and get out here. He doesn't have teleport, so it's not the greatest for him, but at least he picks up some money and will maintain a gold lead now over Showmaker. This Ashe, though, is still the biggest problem for D+. And compositionally, if they can get further ahead here, maybe the burst will be enough to get through these Seraphine shields, and they may just not care about getting on court as they move forward with this Yone Wukong.
Yeah.
And Xiu is still, I mean, he's the one who has the biggest gold lead here, 4D+, has generated it through this lane alone. That early kill and the 30 CS advantage he has now, 35 CS, is pretty big. But let's see what happens when he joins team fights. Because right now he's also holding a bounty. Needs to play carefully in these upcoming fights. I think the Herald fight is going to be the first real, true fight we have of this game.
Yeah. And it just feels like DK are playing much better League of Legends here in game number 2, especially compared to the first game we had. In this Ass Seraphine, yes, they're ahead, but not that far ahead. Not as far ahead as you would expect, as we have a committal here, and Career's just kind of getting left out to dry. As Showmaker's like, sorry, buddy, way more than I expected in this fight, and I'm just going to ult this wall and get away.
That should
Which
be
he does.
Significant pressure here in the bottom lane, though. Showmaker's not out yet.
Yeah, maybe I spoke too soon. He is going to have to flash.
So he has the flash, his back is interrupted, he cannot farm this wave, the plates are going to get taken out here. Lucid's coming down with his ult coming down as well, but Showmaker doesn't have his own. And Showmaker's hesitating to back, but I think he doesn't want to give this turret, but I'm not sure if he can make something of this, as Kellen's a bit isolated.
Yeah, Kellen backing on a control ward, not the safest place to back there, and he just dies. I don't really... I mean, they felt like they had a lot of control over that push, I think, and that they could just back wherever they wanted, but a lack of respect there from BNK. As now Career ghosting, just to show dominance.
Well,
I
he wanted
suppose.
to potentially grab Raptor here, but I don't think it's going to work out. As now Lucid is still holding ultimate,
Asserting dominance.
play it slow.
Yeah. See the pushes coming in, but bit of chunk damage here on a Showmaker. Is going to hit the Q3, but he's just unbinding his way out.
D+ have been so punishing this game. You know, every time you make an overextension or you make a mistake, they are going to find you. They are going to say, well, you were just a little bit greedy with how you played that. You had the edge, you had the advantage, but we're going to turn it on its head. I'm going to push you into that edge and cut you with it. And BNK do end up regain control of the bottom side. Their one more plate will actually be first brick here for BNK in that bottom lane, so that's going to go over to Vikla. That's going to be a lot of gold injected into them, and that should even up the gold pretty much between these two squads. D+ are going to have this Herald, and I said this is going to be our first real major fight. But without ultimates here for BNK, they may just simply let it go. They're in position, but without the ults, it's difficult to actually fight. As speaking of no ults, Showmaker comes up in 10.
Yeah, Career in a lot of trouble here. Subjugate is down onto him, and Clear has the inside track. Raptor just going to pick up that kill, and DK have to abandon the pit for now. Although it does look like with the Ziggs coming up and a TP channeled from Showmaker, they want to get in. The smite is good from Raptor, but now the turn comes down, and immediately Xiu is just dead. Lucid as well being kited out very nicely. Raptor going to put down the Rift Herald as well. They're considering for sure if they want to continue on this one, but
I think he should be able to drift into the mid lane here.
Yeah.
If they tried to stay, he would have been able to disrupt the follow-up fight, but now he's just going to get this guaranteed crash. The punish is so difficult. We'll see. Showmaker has ult.
I mean, he's in a little bit of trouble. Really did not want to flash there. Looks like it just barely came up right now, but he's not going to have to use it.
And just like that, though, I mean, simply put, just like that, the lead is gone for D+. And it all starts with this fight. We came in a little bit late here. Career was aggressively warding this brush, and Raptor just ults him and kills him. It's just that simple. Clear is also so difficult to kill at this stage. And watch the ultimate when it comes down here from the Ziggs in this fight. We're just too early in the game. And the Aurora ult is there, but he's alone. And it's just like, what can you hope to actually do in skirmishes this early into this draft? Like, even when their ults were down, you didn't have full control. Career dies early. They give over the Herald. The crash comes through. They can't get the punish. And BNK starting to pick up some nice advantages here.
Yeah, we assumed that this best of 5 would be very close, very back and forth. And I have to hold that thought as Vikla is going to get dredge lined, and that just means that Career has to flash. Funny how that works. And yeah, we assumed to be very back and forth. It does feel like BNK, coming back in this game is looking really good for them with the Rise and the Ashe on their team. A nice amount of scaling there. But DK, I mean, that was their opportunity to make this game theirs, but not quite, as we're going to have a fight underneath this one. Diablo just gets blown to smithereens.
But the Dragon...
Drake does go over to the Trundle, and Raptor's not done yet, as Lucid in a lot of trouble himself, and will be chased down. And DK are going in one by one, but the damage is insane. They go all in onto the Renekton, as Clear is going to have to pay for their sins, whereas the rest of BNK still on the run. We have DK on the chase here. They're looking to hide on Bush and maybe get that going, but they knew they were in the bush. But the charm goes down onto Showmaker, and it's 2 for BNK. And hiding on Bush, the best strategy you can have.
Now, Faker may not be here in Hong Kong, but his legacy still remains. As in this moment, DK have no choice but to follow. They cannot just simply give this Drake up and let them get out. It's 3 kills the opportunity. But unfortunately, and Smash forced to flash here. May still be dead.
I think he's just dead. Nowhere for him to go. Vikla is unstoppable. 5-1 on the Rice. He's 2,000 gold plus ahead of his opponent.
And in this fight, he's the one who does the majority of the damage as Diablo is collapsed on here. So much is used to kill the AD carry. And the Renekton, who shows up mid-fight here with tons of fury and is in the backline, is just so incredibly difficult to kill. And even though Vikla's on low health, he is just pumping damage constantly. And then here the call is made. Look at the ult for the Seraphine. Kellen gets it at this exact moment. They make the call to hide and look for the turn. They pick up the final kills there. And that may have been the back-breaking moment. And this is just insult to injury as Smash gets over the wall, but still gets rune prisoned and is taken down. As this lead is exploding now for BNK. Double what it was moments ago, but the map control is real.
Look at Lucid in a lot of trouble on the Raptors. Oh, that was a big bomb on a Diablo. And he nearly just dies straight up to Smash.
Meanwhile, turret, so some of that lead has diminished a little bit here. Good barrier from Diablo keeps him alive.
I feel like this game is on like the knife's edge, like of Yone's sword right now. It's such a thin margin.
But it's every fight that you see is so decisive one way or the other. Every single moment you feel like, okay, this is the control has been given, but then there's an outplay on the other side. Or, in some cases, a bit of an overextension.
Yeah.
You can see the lead for Shiu in terms of experience over everybody else was so massive, but Vikla is now really caught up. And it's just about, what, 5%, 8% behind him in experience.
Nearly a full level ahead of Yone. NT did not finish the stacks on, the Rod of Ages. They're just going to go for this in 20 minutes.
Both of their soul laners in bottom lane have TP.
Yeah, it's on Vision. I mean, they saw this happening. And TP's going to be used, only one of them, notably.
Well,
so they use one, and that stops them from taking the... Well, I say that.
Shiu does commit his anyways.
Yeah. And now we're going to have the Dredge line in onto the Trundle. The arrow hits nobody, and Showmaker goes super deep for tons of damage, but now out of position, has to flash. Smash doesn't have his, and he will get smashed down the bottom lane, and DK is gone. And BNK will get something for their troubles.
I mean, at the end of the day, these are the types of problems we raised when we were looking at these compositions. How difficult it is for D+ to be the ones to come to the play and make that aggressive move when they're so heavily melee. It's very challenging. And even the Aurora, who isn't melee, has to do so much upfront burst at low range to be relevant in these fights. And she went Leandri's, so the burst is not as strong as it otherwise could be in this game. So, watch this fight break out. D+ are challenging for position. Career goes in initially, but how do you actually fight this from here? Showmaker has to go in alone. Where's the follow-up damage? There just isn't any. I think Showmaker should have played this slower. Kellen, also, by the way, incredibly patient in this fight. Just waits, holds his ultimate. He's like, I'm just going to make sure the fact that I don't ult means that Showmaker's the only ones going in. Now they're split up. And he uses it to clean up the kill there at the end, but there was just no real angle for D+, no opportunity for Shiu to make a big play. And if fights keep going like this, the lead will continue to grow. 40 seconds until this next Dragon, and D+ do have control over the bottom side of the map to a pseudo extent here around this red buff. I mean, obviously Clear is pushing out that bottom wave, but they can try to collapse onto him, and that could be a big opportunity for the Dragon. They're going to Hex Gate out instead. If BNK get this, the amount of control they buy on the map is insane. This Trundle has a frozen heart.
Yeah, I think from ahead, this comp is just so oppressive, and Shiu, standing on Vision, doesn't know it, and gets caught in a really rough spot. I mean, that's the worst timing as well. We just realm warp into the Baron Pit, they say.
The Vision game has been insane for BNK this series. They have wards everywhere. They're always watching you.
Their Baron damage is really strong. Even the Trundle and the Ashe Rise goes without saying. You see Lucid, he's going to have to go for it. He's going to have to pull out the big smites just like he did against Owner. Flashes into the pit. Tons of burst damage does come down as they try to go deep for Diablo, but Diablo stays alive. And they do get the kill on a clear, though. B&K not in the best of spots. Smash kind of ruling the Rift right now against all these low health bars is going to push them off the objective.
So it ends up being a trade here. Trade up for B&K with a kill on Shiu, but
Dragon
on the cards for D+, and they end up getting them off the map. So there's just so much extra tempo that's now gained here by D+. As a division game, I mentioned, look at the whole map what's happening. I guess we know what happened to Shiu, but the vision, like every entrance to every river, there's a ward on it. B&K find their opportunities. Now, this does not end up being the highest value ultimate here from Kellen. Only hits the Nautilus. And this means that Lucid is completely uncontested as it goes on to Diablo. And Diablo's health bar being low is the biggest problem here. Is Clear tried to trade his life bar to then give him the opportunity to clean up the fight, but he was too low to do so. And the Dragon is not taken by D+. They were unable to do so, and now
they're going so aggressively to try to start these fights. I feel like it's B&K. You gotta let DK come to you instead. They're just running into the jungle. Viklad's gonna go down, and immediately Showmaker picks up a huge shutdown.
I mean, they don't have their critical tools in this fight. They don't have the Encore, and Viklad's still. I mean, look, he was massively ahead. He's still 1,000 gold ahead in this game. But you're not so ahead that you can just walk into 5 without any support.
So forced.
Extremely, and D+ are like, all right, well, maybe the knife's edge is digging into B&K now, as this is just, I mean, it's really inexcusable positioning here as he aggressively tries to look for the 1v1 against Shiu, which is ultimately a 1v5 because he is alone and all of D+ were right there.
Yeah, I can understand, you know, Vikla, he feels extremely strong. He had Actualizer as well before he died, and he's like, I will blow anyone up that tries to face check me. But the rest of your team wasn't there, and you need more tools to get all of the threats of DK off of you. And if DK come together and they burst you down, like, what are you going to do? So
I think his idea is if I kill one person and I barely live, or even trade, that maybe buys enough time for Kellen to get his ult back up. And
or even chunk one person out, you know?
But it just doesn't. It didn't work that way. They weren't close enough to help bail him out of that. It's just a misjudgment. And Baron is still not taken, right? Dragon goes over to D+. We're 2 Drakes apiece. I think the issues compositionally that we've talked about so much this game still exists for D+, but they've kept the game interesting. This Wukong has been the biggest threat so far for Diablo, who's getting stronger by the moment, has IE, has
also,
his 3rd item.
Yeah, I mean, the Ziggs as well. Like, we haven't talked too much about Smash, especially when he's aggressively satcheling and then just dying immediately. Not too much to talk about there, but when he hits his ults onto these people, like, they're all squishy enough. Like, you don't want to hit the Renekton, but that amount of burst damage with the rest of the comp might just be enough. Lucid is spotted. He's just going to go right on in because he doesn't have anywhere else to go, and that's going to be the Ziggs just blown up like that, and the Rise incredibly strong right now. And that is what Vikla is capable of on this pick when he is very fed. Is now going to go on in. The stun on the Showmaker, though, and that means he misses entirely, trying to be the hero. Meanwhile, Shiu trying to 1v1 Vikla. I don't know about that one, buddy, as the map is falling apart for DK, and maybe now B&K can take the Baron.
It looks likely. There's just no one to stop them. And I'm not sold on that Lucid flank there, because you're playing into this comp. You need to be able to get, like, if you can set this up where Smash is there and you can satchel somebody or Career's a little bit closer, then I'm kind of on the same page with you. But in this case, he just goes in disconnected from the rest of his team. Vikla says no to Smash. You cannot join. You're not going to be a factor here. And just like that, B&K look at Lucid the same way I am, kind of going, what was your plan here? And then this stun ruined Showmaker's setup, and Diablo just sidesteps. But even if he gets the kill here, then how much it really turns the tides of this game. At least it might have slowed the Baron that is almost certainly already smote in live.
Yeah.
230 on that, and the power play is ticking. B&K have pushed themselves up to a 4K lead here, and they're looking to really squeeze D+ out of the rest of this game.
Yeah, they definitely have the tools to do so. It was really unfortunate to watch Smash in that last fight. He's trying to follow up on this very, like, ragtag forced engage from from the team, from Lucid, trying to get that flank, and then he just runs straight into Rise, not realizing it. Like he's got his map, he's got his vision on Lucid, and he just runs straight into Rise and dies. Like it's little or big mistakes like that that are going to get you in trouble. And obviously, Rise can be difficult to get away from when he ghosts at you, but it needs to be a little bit cleaner from DK if they're going to have a chance in this game. But now, might be a little bit too little too late.
That's a Renekton with half a Fury bar. He's not too worried about getting dredge-lined as Vikla does insane amounts of damage to turrets as well and has this Baron buff on his side. They're just winning all three parts of this in the 1-1-3, so to speak, here with a three-man in bottom lane.
Oh, shoot. Okay, well, he's desperately trying to clear the cannons, and instead he cleared his own health bar. So, yeah, maybe they're trying to collapse here on the bottom side, but everything is seen.
The vision game, again, for B&K is just, they're doing their due diligence everywhere. They leave no stone unturned, and so this Wukong flank is just caught out immediately. Now they're looking for a TP flank. That's out of vision.
Yeah, Creo's getting burst down in the front part of this fight as they are going to get the flash out of Diablo, and immediately Showmaker just dies as maybe they take out the Ash, as Siu does get on the flank here. And now Vikla is underneath the turret, does an insane amount of damage to Smash, and maybe he is the one that can break open the space. Down will go the Renekton. They're still chasing under the turret. Guys, you're going too aggressive. I know your team is B&K Fear X and you don't have fear, but come on, guys. You didn't have to do that.
They didn't have to. I don't know if it really matters that much, though.
Just like game one.
And in this moment, Diablo's flash feels like it's the last potentially tense moment in this game where they want to follow up. He flashes this, it's done. He doesn't get caught by Showmaker. There's no follow-up anyways. And Vikla, yes, he roam warps into practically the fountain in this one, but he has Zhonya's. It doesn't matter. Clear is so big that even though Smash dies, he absorbed everything, did so much damage with Vikla anyways, and this is just a compositional difference, I think, with less tools here, less peel for B&K. Playing like this would have gotten them punished way more severely, but they can kind of just do whatever they want at this point. There's too many outs, there's too many freebies, and this should be soul point for them as well. Yeah, they got the inhibitor on the other side. Like, they were already saying, like, we got Baron, we use it to get the inhibitor top side so we can have prio for the Dragon guaranteed, where you have to deal with the top wave.
Yeah, on the side of B&K, like, we talked about this draft-wise. If you get behind against Seraphine Trundle, you don't get to, like, play team fights on your own pace. Like, DK, I feel like, have been lucky, and they've been proactive, at least in the early to mid parts of the game, to make some plays. But the second B&K kind of lock things down, they play a little bit safer, and they, you know, get a lead, it just feels almost impossible. There's no flank angle for Lucid. Showmaker's running in a straight line at them. By the way, 3 levels behind Vikla right now. So the Yone's not really having any angle. And yeah, you got like a nice flank in the last one, and honestly, the fight was closer than I thought it was going to be, but they also dove the turret. So again, it didn't have to be like that. And I think B&K, after that happened, are playing a little bit more respectfully now.
Yes.
At least they haven't dove any turrets in the last 2 minutes. So
there's no Baron buff. There is no objective.
Yeah.
There's no Otacon.
Wait, where'd he go?
It's been gone for a little while, Valdez.
Oh.
We said
I see.
We said best of luck in your future endeavors at Kespa Cup, and he hasn't come back since. This is now for B&K just utilizing vision control. Like, this is one of those patience tests that you have when you have a lead like this at 31.5 minutes in, where there's nothing to take. Your siege is okay, but it's not enough to just outright group as 5 and end the game. Just have to continue to play through vision and set traps and make sure that D+ can't get back into the game. For D+, you just keep farming, and you go, well, our Ziggs is getting stronger, right? Our Yone is massively behind, but that means less and less every 5 minutes that passes.
Yeah,
and you just have to hope that B&K mess up this Baron. You can get that punish here. You can slow the Baron down, buy more time. The inhibitor's up in 2.5. It's on the same side of the map as the Baron, so you can clear that while also grouping to challenge Baron. It's not a great position for D+. It's a really rough one. It is nigh unplayable. However, the fact that the Nexus still stands, the fact that 2 inhibitor turrets are still up, means that they can give this one more big fighting chance. Lucid is going to have his flash relatively soon, and he has GA. So between him and the burst follow-up that this draft does have, if they are not respectful, again, BNK could toss this game away. I wouldn't predict it. In fact, it's hard to imagine it. But there's still hope here if you're a D+ fan.
Yeah. Always hope until the Nexus explodes. We learned that multiple times, even in this exact LCK Cup, amongst multiple teams. As they're going to try to arrow in SU, but just a little bit faster than Diablo expected.
Luckily for him, he's level 16, and that arrow will be back pretty quickly. As Lucid, again, he's the main character here in terms of setup engage, and they're just going to jump over the pit wall and start the Baron. They have so much
Look at this damage. I mean, it's already like half gone. And Lucid's like, well, maybe I can get, no, I can't get past the Renekton. There's the root, there's the Baron. Goes over to BNK.
And they passed the patience test I was talking about. They played it well, they played aggressively, they found their angle, they get the Baron with no risk. They made it a zero-risk Baron. And that doesn't say BNK if you think about previous years with this squad, but here in 2026, this team knows how to macro. They know how to play the vision game. They know how to play patient and measured when it's required of them. And that's exactly what they did. Is there is no cross map, there is no cross play here. There's no Dragon to tie us up 3-3 here for D+. They just have to let that Baron go and get ready to defend it.
Yeah, the Baron push will come in. And I think this time, there are a lot of flank wards actually in mid, so got to be careful about that. But and also that, don't run straight into the Ziggs bomb, but you can still siege until the Dragon comes up and then try to get Hextech Soul and win the game off of that. That should be the safest way to lock this one down. And for D+K, I mean, again, you're going to have to rely on flanks. I would imagine with the TPs coming in, they have a lot of flank wards, even on the bottom side of the map. And besides that, I don't really see a good angle. Vikla gonna take a bunch of damage, but runs straight up to the Soul and says, I will take you down! Flashes in and takes him out. Showmaker no longer on the Rift, as in will go Raptor. Lucid getting bullied away, and these two inhibitors will fall. And maybe the third to follow as well. Maybe they say, well, we don't even need to play around the Dragon. We can just end this game right here.
They have so many Baroned up cannon minions. It's just an insane siege as Clear can buy so much space. And I think BNK are going up to match point here, Valdez. A very dominant start to the series.
Looking fantastic so far in the first couple of wins. Not very close in these two games, as maybe they get Raptor, but they will not get the game. It's 2-0. That does go to BNK FearX, as they want a ticket to Brazil, and they want a ticket to get revenge against Genji.
And despite Showmaker getting played through a little bit here in this game, Vikla was punished several times. That skirmish on the Dragon, that fight where this Rise got so massively ahead, the misjudgment by the side of D+ is what cost them this game. And it's very similar to game one, where it's just this domino effect, this snowball, where somebody gets caught, somebody gets picked. Lucid in game one is caught, they lose their bottom duo, they lose their bottom duo again. And the snowball has been just rolling down the hill here. Sure, Smash tops damage in the game, but none of it is very impactful. None of it's leading to the eliminations they need. When you're seeing these man bombs onto BNK, we're just like, well, I'm shielding that and I'm running towards you and I don't care. You don't have consistent damage. Showmaker is unable to play the game. And they played around this Yone incredibly well. We need to see better drafting here from D+ for the remainder of this series. Remember when they went down 0-2 into T1? Some argued their drafts were better than T1's. T1's greed was not punished. In this series, though, they are not looking good in the draft department from the first two games, and now so many champions are removed.
Yeah, they've been struggling a lot in that department, but BNK sitting at 2-0 and looking like the big favorites to end this series very quickly. And we'll see if that does happen after the break.
끌면 봐줘. 나 50이랑 이거 빡세게 싸우는데.
우리 딜가 안 나오고 우리
50 W 빠졌어. 지금 타워 쳐봐. 50 W 없어.
야 요네 잡았어 얘들아. 요네 잡았어.
오로라. 노플이야. 빨리지 마.
천천히.
빨리 좀 알아볼래? 나 요네 잡아놨거든 얘들아.
나 50막 할게.
야 노태부터.
요네 잡아놨어. 요네.
노플에 오로라 사먹치기 하고 타워 끝내자.
8초 스킬거 졸려.
아니 근데 이거 미니언 이용할 만할 것 같아.
아 미르탑 하면 끝나 이거.
노플이야.
그래
오로라 노플 노웅이.
며칠 노플.
오로라
라인 써 라인 써.
이거 대포 써 대포.
아,
나 살짝 끌렸어.
뭐 없어?
괜찮아.
야 미니언 하면 끝날 것 같아. 나 그냥 집회라고 올게. 안 박아도 돼.
나 계속 50막 할게.
나 집회라고 올게. 미니언
이동하면서
끝날 것 같아.
이동 쓰고 나 오른쪽 각으로 쫄게.
오라 필 오라 필.
아 끝났다.
나한테
끝났다. 싸우자.
끝.
Malaysia, their drafts have been fine. They have been really tough to pilot into what we've seen from B&K in Game 1. Massive prio deficits, and then in Game 2, a heavily melee composition with Ziggs on top into the Ashe Seraphine. The Rumble will stay banned. Twisted Fate also taken away from Vikla.
Yeah, I think that's fair, especially from the first pick side, but does mean they're going to be looking for one of these picks. I do wonder which one it will be. Pantheon still left up so far. Poppy as well was banned, and Bessa and Lucian.
That's a great ban, though, I think, into Diablo, and one that I think D+ may have to go for the rest of the series, unless they want to put Smash on the same pick. It's just such a strong pick for him, and he has warped so many games for it. And once again, 3 in a row, the Ambessa will be taken away here from Shiu and Lucid. So you chose first pick. You opted into it. What will that first pick be? A little bit less obvious here than it was in the last 2 games. Because yes, you have Pantheon, and it is the highest tier jungle that's left, but you don't have the Talia anymore. You don't have the Rise. You don't have that strong global rotation power with this Pantheon. It's still strong in its own right, but not as strong as it was earlier in the draft. And now the Yunara will just go over and return, and maybe they'll scrap a Lulu with it, Valdez. And I worry already,
Oh boy,
for D+ when I see this duo on the other side.
yeah, it's very difficult because there was just so much left up. I mean, even Poppy's available if B&K want to play that a little bit later on. If DK overcommit into aggression, which, you know, they might just be able to do here with the
Gotta be
Pantheon.
quirky, Nico, right? Like, that's the only option. You've got to slam that down. And you're going to have to trust Career is going to pull it off here. It is so incredibly difficult if you fall behind. They're going to go for the Nami instead. This is a Career favorite. He has 100% win rate on Aftershock Nami as well. But it is a
Nice.
It is a very, very tall task to come back in this game if you fall behind in this lane. And Nocturne, an unusual pick in this scenario, but we'll be able to match Global, the Pantheon, and can also mess up a lot of the setup that D+ are going to be looking for in team fights to try to lock down, point click on this Yunara. So it does make sense.
Yeah, I think it's a good call. You want to be just going forward. You know, like you would play a Zeri comp, you just want to essentially take the aggression off of the Yunara here. As now we're going to have the Gwen banned away. That was hovered last game, but we did not see it into the Renekton, so the Aurora instead. So still left up here in Game 3.
I'd almost rather see D+ just extreme simplification of this draft. They banned the Ahri. I was thinking maybe you just go Ahri yourself. Maybe you go Camille. You just say, I'm not going to let Diablo play the game. We're playing a dive comp. Corki's going to Valkyrie on the follow when the ult comes through from the Pantheon. Because this is Diablo we're talking about here. Next to Ruler, nobody has really been able to do what this guy has done on this pick when given advantages. Smash has had his own fair share of games with this pick this way, but guess what? He's not piloting it here in Game 3. The cannon is removed, and if you go for frontline and you just try to go toe-to-toe with this Corki, it's just not going to be able to match the damage output, so creativity, I think, will be required here for D+, but they don't have the counter pick because they opted for first pick. The Pantheon they got is great, but now it's up to D+, or rather up to B&K, what they want to pick here first, and I think mid blind is probably the safer option.
Zoe Nocturne looks to be the play here for the side of B&K. And it gets swapped to Cassante. So we have blind Cassante coming in here for clear.
Zoe could be powerful here for Showmaker. Even Syndra, as much as I loathe the champ oftentimes, feels like it could be great setup in this draft that, again, needs to find some way to kill this Yunara. More engage is always going to be better. The Zoe is going to be what they opt for. They take it away. At least that's the expectation here as the lock comes through.
Yeah, and it gets a big cheer from the fans. They would love to see Showmaker Zoe, and they are going to get it in game number 3.
Will Vikla just play a scaling carry is the question as the Jax comes through here. Something like a Victor or even like a Mel doesn't feel out of the question here in this draft. Can be quite strong.
Like Galio.
Can play Galio to further the protection onto Clear and to Diablo and say, it's 1v9 Diablo time, which has often been a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, you got the Nocturne as well.
Syndra, though.
But instead,
this is what I thought Showmaker would do had he chosen this pick instead of the Cassante. A little bit surprised to see the tables turn on this one, because this feels highly unnecessary for the draft here of BNK, because this does neither what you and I went on into two sides of the coin of Galio for protection of the AD carry and to index further into Diablo, or additional scaling damage because you already have the Cassante frontline and you turn a single threat comp into a double threat. This is engage and pick. We're going to draft that has a scaling Yunara and a Cassante frontline, and it doesn't actually synergize that well with Nocturne either. It can if you're in the right place at the right time. And the Nocturne finds that ambitious ultimate.
Yeah, you have a lot of kill pressure with the Unleashed Power and the Paranoia that come through if you want to blow up one target, but they have to be in the right place at the right time, and generally from ahead can feel very good. You know, when the Syndra spikes one item, you get the Hex Plate for the Nocturne as well.
I just think when I look at how this series has gone, it feels like a neutralizing pick to try to shut Showmaker out, but Showmaker has had the better early games in both of our first 2 games. And so for the first time in this series, with this Syndra pick, I thought up until that moment, I really liked the draft better for BNK. I'm going to have to give D+ the nod in this one in game 3. I think the Syndra was not 100% what they were looking for in this one, but we'll see how it's piloted. The rest of this draft has a strong backbone and an incredible carry in Diablo.
Yeah, and also feels like POM is up for grabs. Maybe Diablo can grab it with the Yunara in game number 3. We'll have to wait and see how it does go as we hop onto the Rift for that game number 3. And here we go. Lower finals could be decided in this very game, as DK have found no luck in the first couple. BNK just shutting them out so far.
When I think about side lane champions that are really, really powerful to play through with a Nocturne that can shadow them, Cassante and Syndra are absolutely not on that list. They're not the ones you think, they're not the ones that come to mind. As coming to mind down here is a heal trade and a strong level 1 for BNK.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Lulu nowadays. I feel like it goes with pretty much anything, and especially with hyper carries. When Karma's gone, you can just be so aggressive, so annoying, and you have Diablo on your team. I think Smash and Career are being out-traded big time
The
so
one
far.
weakness of Yunara level 1 is that it takes a few auto attacks to charge the Q, but if you actually have the heal to push in and start those trades faster, and the Lulu has more damage throughput, you'll always win that exchange. You'll be able to force barrier, and you'll get your Q online so you can continue the extended trade, and Corki will never be able to match the damage, even with Career here. And so Diablo and Kellen play this aggressively. They understand the tempo well, and they will get level 2 first and control this wave.
Yeah, not too surprising, but the way the trades went was a bit more than I expected. I'm also excited to see what's going to happen in mid lane between those two. As Clear's going on in, he's going to dodge the counter-strike and actually get a nice little trade against Shu. I feel like the Cassante early on should have an advantage against the Jax, but eventually the Jax will become a problem as Lucid, going through his own jungle, doesn't know that Raptor is here. And we don't know exactly where he is either. Just kind of go for the wolves, maybe? Okay, well, Lucid coming on in, going for an early gank, and Kellen just dies. First blood given over to Career, but it's still a kill. It's now Raptor gonna try to get out of there, but yeah, not in a great spot himself. Flashes forward to try to get closer, and Raptor gonna have to flash himself. Does spell shield the sleep, and he will be okay.
Just a complete, I mean, I don't want to call it unlucky, but misread, perhaps, is the easier way to cast or explain this situation, because Raptor is trying to utilize the prio in this 2v2 lane that we talked about so much already, how powerful the Lulu is early, to try to then steal away some cabs. Unfortunately for him, he's hoping that it's multifaceted. He comes over here, sees if the Pantheon is bottom side, and he tries to take the Wolves away. Instead, he misses Lucid, has no idea, and his overextension here ends up being a huge problem. Tries to make something of it, will trade his flash there in the end. But Nocturne early game, definitely a little bit weaker than Pantheon's, and I think they should have at least put a ward down right there on his way over to the Raptor camp, as they do end up getting caught basically in their blind spot there in the bottom lane.
Yeah, very interesting way to start it off. Career going to try to hit first item a little bit quicker with that first blood gold that he did pick up. He's not exactly been having the happiest gaming so far. Took a lot of deaths on the Nautilus, which again, it was Nautilus into Ashe Seraphine, like, and eventually when you fall behind, you're the guy who's dying. So I don't really feel like that was his fault, but I do worry for his mental state. As we know, Career can struggle with that from time to time. I don't think he should take it too personally from the first couple of games, but they need him to be playing good League of Legends. As Kellen, speaking of which, he's going to have to flash away. Career flashes forward as well, and Diablo now is like, I've got an opportunity here, as barriers are going to be traded.
Yeah, Kellen gets his heal back online, so that's a little bit of extra health as they get the slow.
Slurko comes in, Career in a lot of trouble, no sums. Couple more autos could do it, flash forward, and Diablo, seeing blood in the water, picks up a kill for himself.
The Unar damage output is just so insane, they almost had enough to take Kellen out there, but his heal comes back, and the turnaround on the second Q is there for Diablo, and that is just enough to grab that kill there. Smash has flash, doesn't have any agency with it to try to save Career, who now is down summoners and lost his life. As you see here, Kellen almost goes down, but Smash uses a lot of buttons for this, and he's low on mana, and Diablo's like, okay, I want to play for this. His second Q comes back, he has the barrier, now he has enough damage output to where he knows Smash without barrier cannot actually compete. If he steps up, he will lose the trade, and Career is isolated. Smash being too low health here means that with that slow coming down, his life is over. The Nami there. Career, his first death of the game in this one. Back to Vikla here. The laning phase has been pretty stable. You know, we haven't had that first dragon just yet, so we'll see what happens, as that's kind of been the struggle for him so far this game.
Yeah. Those first dragons...
or this series, I should say.
Yeah, they've been a big factor in terms of getting those stacking drakes going. Especially for game number 1, felt like a lot of oppression. Game number 2, a little bit less, because they were just so far ahead. But either way, gonna feel good for DK to be able to pick that one up, as Shiu does get traded against. He's doing a great job here in the top lane. Getting ahead here on this Jack's gonna feel very good, as Lucid will pick up the Drake with the help of the Corki.
With the win of the Taliyah that Vikla picked up in game 1, his Syndra is now his lowest win rate champion with more than 15 games played. And so a lot of confidence again for him to pull this out in a series like this, again, without having a lot of success on it. Similar to the Twisted Fate we talked about many series ago that he pulled out to find great success there in the upset win over T1. So Vikla, I think, really trying to get out of his shell a little bit here. Push the boundary. Speaking of,
Gotta be very careful. If that hits, I mean, there is kill pressure, and maybe Raptor has to come on over, but he's not even level 6. So, getting a little bit frisky, as Vikla has been this entire day. It's gonna be a plate going over to Showmaker, who does have Lucid nearby for protection. Gets the crab, gets level 6, picks it up first.
that win rate was 40, just to contextualize. I'm not saying he's sitting at like a 70%, 40%.
Okay.
So
Raptor, level 6.
He does have that
dive.
Yeah, he does have that opportunity set up here. Diablo, on the other hand, does not have wild growth, so this is really going to have to be a trade to start this off, I think, before this can actually go off. As Smash steps forward.
It's just smart from Career to stay as far back as possible. They need to know the timing. Lucid just hit 6. If Nocturne's around and Career goes forward, he doesn't even have level 6, doesn't have flash. He will just die.
Yeah, and you know, Lucid's on the opposite side of the map. Pantheon Ultimate does not reach that far. They are playing this so patiently, but ultimately do just decide to back away. As Nocturne can still engage near Krugs. So he's not really losing too much as this wave pushes through to go ahead and take those. But it looks like nothing is going to eventuate from this little camp from Raptor down on the bottom side. He's coming back over now. And it looks like he's going to try to get more vision. As Kellen now does have Wild Growth, and that makes this a lot more potent.
Yeah.
He actually has the advantage over Career for half a level. That was a huge window.
And his circle comes down. You can see that Raptor's just itching. He wants to press it, and in he goes in onto the Nami. And Career's like, what do I even do? I was playing carefully. As now Lucid gonna come in. They try to take down Raptor, but Raptor is so tanky, and Diablo just runs him down. And even gonna push Smash back just a little bit for good measure. And wins the trade in a big way. Now we have Burst coming in. Showmaker wants to punish Vikla here. As the Q comes down and Showmaker doesn't quite have the pressure. Kellen getting in. He wants to kill, but it goes over to Raptor instead. And Smash will follow eventually. Really the only question is who picks this one up as the Q comes down. And actually,
I think
he does get away.
He's going to live here because
Just
they
barely.
just ran out of buttons. Everyone's too low. He could pick up a triple if they wanted to push, push it further or ask the question. As Career still doesn't have level 6, or he'd love to toss it in.
No, Career, not like this. He's gonna have to flash, and man, the dominoes, they're not even falling one by one. It's like the entire stack of them just got flattened.
Yeah, it looks like, it was a slow play for Raptor, but eventually he just slapped him down. Like they stopped falling, actually, quite quickly. So what adds insult to injury here, as look at where Lucid is, they step forward because like, okay, Lucid now is in ult range, but this happens so quickly. Like look at the Pantheon ult timing. The irony is because he's here, he's actually now an extra liability.
Yeah.
And they almost turn this into a triple here in the bottom side as he tries to shadow the bottom lane. Obviously that all-in does happen in mid, but you can see here Lucid tries to channel it back, his burst down, and then Smash, luckily for him, is able to survive here. Very, very low on health. Diablo's like, I'm not going to pick up turret aggro for this one. Raptor's Q is not going to connect, and that's the end of that.
It's really just the burst damage. It's like who gets the initiation off first.
And the Wild Growth was ready. Career doesn't have Tidal Wave, so he just doesn't have the answer.
And of course, if he had Flash, maybe he could bring him back, but he used it because he didn't expect the hide on bush tech, I guess, once again. As now, here we got Diablo flashing in, gonna get the Wild Growth on top, and Smash is like, God, I don't get to play the game.
He is really not playing the game very much in this series thus far. That's a bit of a rough one. It's a trade of flashes for the 80 carries, but Barrier is gone. And with the one trade, it's hard for Smash to stay because the Nocturne is back up and ready with Paranoia.
Yeah.
You gotta clear that wave as fast as possible. They will be able to do it. So it looks like that's the end of the aggression there on the bottom side, but it may just be this is transitioned into a Dragon take here for B&K, their first of the game, an Infernal. As we do see Lucid with his ult back up, and he's lurking around as well, so they need to be measured with this bottom 2v2 aggression now because Diablo still does not have Flash. He just traded it.
Yeah, no Wild Growth, no sums. I think you do have to be a little bit more careful now, especially the Nocturne backed away. But Lucid is down here babysitting, just trying to help Smash farm a little bit. But Hexblade is done now. And that means that Raptor, they should be looking for another play on the bottom side of the map. Lucid knows about this. But if they can get another kill into a Dragon, you're beginning to take off on the B&K rocket in this game.
Certainly is looking pretty tough as Pantheon actually completes the back to pick up his Sundered Sky, but that means that he's not here, and this is a huge opportunity now for Raptor to start up this Dragon. They have full control of the bottom lane, and I believe the Pantheon was seen backing. I'm not 100% sure, but it looked like he was on a ward. He's going to show up again right now, so they know where he is.
Uh-oh. Yeah, and now they're just going to try to turn this onto the Corki. You see that the Fear comes down, but they got to deal with the Pantheon. Lucid doing a good job of frontlining. Flash comes forward as Showmaker wants to make the play, but Lucid goes down. As that will be the kill over to Raptor. Now the chase is on, onto Career. Flash forward, it's not going to connect. And now Vikla being burst away. The Unleashed Power comes in though, as, oh no, Diablo oversteps. Not the first time, but that is massive for the side of DK. Vikla trying to get out. It looks like he barely will be able to.
Has the shield, gets the scatter, and he gets away. Very, very close turnaround there for D+, as things could have been much worse. And Vikla says, I want to continue to make that the case. Wants to lurk here and find Smash.
I think
he was on a ward.
Okay, well,
And Valdez,
DK are back
that
in the
vision
game.
toggle was, yeah, it was Vickless. He did not know he was on a ward. And so going back to this initial play, at this moment, Diablo's like, okay, this is so free. Polymorph goes down, they cannot lock me up. He gets stunned, but the fight is already, like, basically in his hands. He's like, this is done. And there's just no way to lock him down anymore unless Showmaker hits a bubble, right? And Diablo chases forward here. Tidal Wave buys some space. And then at this moment, Vickless alone, running forward. And then Diablo's like, I guess I'll clean up your mess. So then he goes in alone and gets caught. It's just a bit sloppy here from BNK. Not really two ways about it. D+ like, thanks to the freebie.
Showmaker just dies. And this is right before the Infernal Drake. Clear is being bopped a little bit. And actually, the Infernal does go over to DK. So they were on it, and Showmaker tried to rotate over, it looks like, and just kind of dies. So Mountain Soul this time. No Hex Tech for a third time in a row.
It's a pretty good win, or big win for BNK that they're able to at least get Showmaker because, like you said, it's Double Dragon and Mountain. First non-Hex Tech Soul of the series. And that ends up being a bit of extra gold going over there, keeps them in the gold lead. But D+ have really turned this game around. You can see that despite his death, he has a significant gold lead himself, Showmaker. And the Corki is caught up in the bottom lane from what unfortunately was a lot of errors from Career there on the bottom side. Now this is just Showmaker, Lisa, trying to rotate in. There was a control ward in that brush, so Showmaker didn't know exactly where anybody was. And Claire's just like, sorry, man.
I love that that happens to Showmaker. Just one of the most Cassante moments we've had in a while, and it happens to the guy who made the meme. Yeah, Showmaker not going to enjoy that too much, but this is pretty massive for DK, as you mentioned. 2 dragons. They've caught up in essentially every facet. And Vikla, once again, this time he's just going to face check, and guess who's here? It is indeed Lucid. Somehow Career gets that kill, as now they're going for the kill. Up on the top side, looks like once again Showmaker will meet his arch nemesis as Clear picks up another kill and gets him down. Shiu is going in, but that is Yunara.
And the lane
Gonna force him to ult away.
Here, a little bit awkward for DK. Like, they have Smash in the bottom lane with the Pantheon, so he's relatively free to farm, but I don't know if he needs to be here right now as the Jax is dealing with the Yunara, so not having a great time!
Shiu, no! What's going on here?
And so the Corki is backing,
mid,
and he just dies in the mid lane to the Yunara. Like I was saying, this is not where the Jax wants to be. The Jax wants to be dealing with the Cassante, where you can counter-strike and buy space, not where Showmaker is, who ends up getting caught there on the top side and burst down. And D+ is macro. Falling apart a little bit here in this mid game, and now the Herald is up for grabs.
Yeah, it just looks like they're falling apart a little bit at the seams. And now the Herald's up here, and now we got the stun down on a Lucid. Tons goes into him, and Clear has the flank once again. 2 kills, the Herald, and Smash alone just trying to get away. And BNK, the rocket has really taken off here.
It really is. 3 grubs already theirs. Herald in their possession. And it's moments like this, again, where we have to question why are the lanes set this way.
Oh no.
Which is just some greed there on the bottom side for Corki, ended up being in an awkward spot coming back. Shiu has to clean up the mess. The wild growth is incredibly powerful, obviously, in this type of situation. And over here, like, Vikla just ends up getting the massive one, right? Like, he ends up getting the double here. Diablo is set up. And there's just, like, the contest of this didn't even really make sense. And maybe they thought Vikla was backing and had been completely just opted out, and perhaps without him they could make something happen. They were wrong if that's what they thought, and they're very aware of it now as the only lead, again, is the most popular player in the arena in Showmaker, but everything else is in complete shambles for D+.
Yeah, the first pick Pantheon has been dealt with in a huge way by BNK. They knew exactly what to do. The Nocturne attacks first, can get into the fight faster, and essentially just kind of ignores the Pantheon. And the Yunara Lulu was just never going to be matched. Not in a game 3 of Fearless by DK. Not by these 2 players. And now the siege is coming down. Vikla takes just an insane amount of damage for some reason. Meanwhile, Showmaker rather is pushing the top lane.
Showmaker's just trying to get as much gold as he can, because I think he's realizing very quickly that he needs to be the big man on campus in this game and pop off and get the burst damage done, because maybe the only way to lock down Diablo is a Sleepy Trouble Bubble or just big Paddle Star damage before a fight even breaks out. It has to be him. He has to be strong. He has to be able to do that burst. He needs as much money as possible to make that happen. As now finally the lanes are set up back the way they should be here for D+. And I mean, it's
much to Smash's chagrin. He's
Isn't
not very happy about this.
it's wild to think that. Okay, we are going to see a bit of a Showmaker gank here, so I'll hold my words for a moment.
Yeah, I gotta land the stun, and the bubble is going to sail wide, and Smash once again tries to step up to Diablo. The bubble, though, is gigantic. As we do see the follow-up tidal wave, though, it's going to keep him at bay, and just that. As Diablo is just so powerful right now. We do see Lucid is here, and the flash!
Diablo baits him! He baits
Diablo!
him!
Oh, he's just styling all over DK right now, and Showmaker once again has to deal with these two. Once again dies to the Cassante.
I mean,
What do you do?
When we had Arrow on the desk the other day, he was like, I don't know why Diablo plays like this, doesn't need to, but it's fun to watch, and it works out as he's literally baiting the Pantheon flash stun. He has his flash at the ready. He's standing on the edge of the range. You can see it.
Yeah.
You can practically see the range indicator with your eyes as you watch that moment, and he's just so ready.
Yeah, BNK are here farming wins, and Diablo's here. He's like, I want some of those Showmaker fans to look at me as the next generation of the LCK. As we definitely know he is a big part of it. It looks like this first Mountain Drake should be going over to the side of BNK. Channeling a back here is Cassante. Just gonna find Xiu, who's like, well, what's going on here in this bush? I've got a counter-strike that's not gonna do all too much against the Syndra. There's a lot of damage, a massive stun comes down, but the health bars are pretty low. Looking to engage now, Showmaker desperate for something, and Lucid just blown up immediately. And you see that the rest of the DK is just running away. In goes Raptor, flashes out there as the sleep comes in, but the damage is enough as Kellen says, I will collect the kill. And he does exactly that. BNK now 5,000 gold ahead, Wolf.
The first pick Pantheon is 0 and 4. And it looked like a balloon dashing to a needle in that last moment. As he just goes in looking for any opportunity. This is the demise of Showmaker from moments before. And he is just taken out to sleep on the Nocturne, but can only sleep one of them. And then here, desperation. You know, you're trying to check this bush. That control ward was so high value. And then Lucid's like, maybe there's something in this. Maybe there's enough damage here. Maybe I can actually pull this off.
Oh, no.
Where does he go? Straight into the back line. Gotta kill Vikla. Vikla just flashes and then he just disappears. Health bar gone. Not strong enough. No follow-up. Nothing. And we have two global jungles in this game. One of them feels truly worldwide. The other one is just global in name. As Lucid has died everywhere. And Raptor has killed everywhere. And now we're looking at a 6,000 gold lead here at 20 minutes. And I was promised this series would go the distance. I was promised we didn't know what was going to happen. And I think that was true. That sentiment was felt by almost everyone. And the crowd is 4D plus.
Yeah.
I cannot stress this enough. The crowd is 4D plus here in the arena. And yet, this may be one of our most one-sided playoff matches of the tournament. And Diablo, 7,000 damage ahead of not only Smash, but like, he's 7,000 damage ahead of him, and that's the closest. No one else, she was at 9,000.
Yeah.
Showmaker's way down there.
I mean, if you fall behind with the Zoe, Showmaker becomes useless, especially when he keeps getting Nocturne ulted in the side lane. There's just no presence from him. The AD carry matchup is winning for Diablo, so he gets to do whatever he wants in mid. Smash has no pressure. And then she was like, well, if you give me 10, 20 minutes, maybe I can do something about Cassante, but it's not going to happen now. And it feels like we've been in this situation for DK like 3 games in a row.
Yeah, not that it's impossible for Xiu to be relevant, but he's also holding 0 grubs because they didn't get those either. And it's a little bit shell-shocking to think that the team that just reverse swept T1 just cannot hold a candle to BNK here in this best of 5 today.
BNK looking insane tonight, and now they're looking for Xiu as well, and they will pick up that kill. A bunch does go into clear, but he is the tank. And so at the end of the day, he will brush it off and not really care all too much. But it's just another kill, another turret going the way of BNK. And they're just, you know, there's no big objectives. I guess they could go for Baron, but they say we'll take the kill first.
Dragon's up in 140, so they'll grab this vision. They are on a 3-item Yunara setup, like where doing Baron feels like it could be quite strong, but they also have a Syndra. So it's not the fastest Baron, and they don't have a ton of control, so they're going to play a little bit more patiently as Diablo has Flash.
Yeah, he is just not going to use it until the very end here, but Flash has come in from Lucid, and now Clear shows up, and he says, get away from my AD carry. And look, Diablo is still alive, finally. We do see the spear come in, and Clear a little bit out of position. Now he's being burst, but he is going forward in BNK fashion, has the wild growth, and they say, no Nara, no problem. And they will be able to take down Smash and eliminate the second AD carry from this fight. So now Shu's like, huh, maybe I can do it. No, he's just gonna get stunned up. As we do see Raptor going on in. And I think they gotta get out of here. Stat, although we are gonna see Shu going in, does land the double stun. And now Showmaker trying to get something done as Unstoppable will go clear. And finally, Vikla is going to show up to this one. And Shu finally does get that kill on a Raptor, but eventually will bite the dust. So now we have the bubble coming in. Showmaker trying his best to make something of this series, but he's just going to get polymorphed and trying to follow up here. He's going to pick up a flash, but not quite able to land too much more.
Yeah, the blast cone is going to help build more space here, but I think that was the end of it, that final sleep. A lot of play here from Clear in this crazy scrap, which Diablo gets caught in as he greeds insanely for Raptors here, but he does have flash right, and knows Cassante is somewhat nearby. Gets the shield from the Cassante, has his barrier shield, and he almost bursts Lucid down. He is so close to killing him. If he does, this situation is actually totally different, as Clear does a lot of heavy lifting to keep him alive. Then goes in here with a Q3. He's level 16. Wild Growth's on him. Then he splits this fight as well in the follow-up here when the Jax shows up. They get the kill on the Smash. And Shu gets the double stun. I don't know if we're going to go deep into this replay because there's probably something happening live because this is going to go for a while. But Shu ends up in this chase here getting a ton of value. And then Clear splits the fight. Raptor gets away here. There's the flash to get the double stun. And Showmaker is just out of range for so many of these bubbles. He wants to hit some of these paddle stars with these low health bars. But this moment here from Clear is fantastic. Vikla goes in a little bit deep by himself for some reason, as Clear saves the bottom side of the fight. And ultimately, Kellen then has to save him. Some really good play from Kellen. This is a scrappy fight that didn't need to be that scrappy. The lead here for BNK, though, is so big that I just don't know if it matters that D+ get these small victories in these longer exchanges.
Yeah, it's not enough, as you mentioned. Now we're going all out under the turn, and guess who's back? Back again. It is Nocturne to bring you the nightmares to any side laner, as Diablo's just in it. I don't really know how he got here, but he is ready to fight, as he always is. Diablo picks up the kill and has the McHale's right there. Meanwhile, we see Smash and Career trying to push away the Cassante, but like, they're losing so much, man. BNK are just owning all of the games today.
Yeah, and this is, I think, in part due to draft. Something we haven't talked about that much, you know, in terms of the overall season. We've talked a lot about the AD carry meta, funneling your AD carry's goal, winning bottom lane, playing that 3v3 better. But draft has played a major part, I think, in so many of our playoff series, including BNK's win over T1, D+'s win over T1, and now D+'s loss. It looks like very likely here to BNK.
Oh,
no vision,
no
nothing.
idea. Showmaker might just die here. The power comes in, and he is just hiding in the jungle. And no longer will Zoe be alive for this Baron. Career as well might be in some trouble. Bubble does go down on a Vikla, but even the Wild Growth is there trying to save Vikla. He's running away from everybody, and nobody can deal with him. Career goes down and clears behind enemy lines. BNK truly are off the rails now, as Vikla is back, decides to die.
10,000 gold the lead here means that Vikla, the worst thing is he might get a stern talking to after this game, but I just don't know if it is really going to matter here, as D+ barely hanging on in this game, and to win this series and to face off against Gen G, it will have to not only reverse sweep, but win this game, which is of the three arguably the most one-sided. As Vikla here gets the secure kill onto Showmaker, is otherwise very deep and absorbs a lot of resources here, but it's worth, because Diablo shows up. Diablo's like, oh yeah, don't forget, I am also quite large in this game. The double stun is able to buy a little bit of space here, but D+, it feels like they are they can't make a dent in this lead, into this lead. The wallets are heavy, whatever you want to say. No matter how well they play and how aggressively BNK play, it almost feels like they're being taunted by BNK, because BNK are like way out of position, completely split. The Syndra's getting the Wild Growth, and you're like, yeah, but you still can't beat me. does not matter. And,
Yeah.
you know, they had a early Drake lead in this game, but now we're evened up, and 2 of those Drakes are mountain for this Cassante. So there just isn't any good news. It's Unara with plated steel caps. And
Yeah, I don't know.
Diablo's making a statement.
Sometimes the most unexpected result is the one that happens. Diablo is getting chunked out a little bit. Raptor getting flanked. He has to go forward. Doesn't really have any help from his team, though. Although on the bottom side of this one, Lucid getting shredded by this gigantic Unara. As Diablo is just running straight into them. Does not care at all. The flash forward from Kellen to save him. And Diablo can do whatever he wants tonight. And he will do exactly that. Has the backing of his team, and he knew it. Splashes into 4 people and does not get punished.
He just typed /God mode in the chat. And that's exactly what happened as his teammates give him all the resources. Smash here, looking for something.
Yeah, and they're stopping the back at the same time. Career's just dead, that's fine. But, like, they stop Smash from getting back so that this push can happen in mid.
That's an inhibitor down, and there's no angle.
No. Okay.
That's a very appropriate emote for the situation.
Nice. For the whole series.
This is just such a train wreck. And for B&K, there are no rules anymore. There is nothing you can do wrong. You cannot throw this game even if you tried. With the lead they have, the global they have, the 80 carry they have. Vikla is gonna look for an angle.
Well, it's looking like death number 7 for the most popular guy in the arena, as we've mentioned many times, but he was not able to put up the performance to back it up, as now the damage goes in on the Smash, and that is Vikla's job. Just do just that, and Smash does not get to play the game. Doesn't matter if he dies or not. Smash 4-1, he's like, well, I guess this just wasn't our LCK Cup. We got the win on the T1, and that was a little bit too much, I suppose. And B&K, I mean, at least because this one is so one-sided, now I have hope that maybe B&K can do something tomorrow. Because before this, I was like, well, just give Genji the trophy, you know, the classic saying. But B&K looking amazing tonight, and DK have had no chance.
Certainly not really any ins in this series, as it's just an everything gap between these squads. A Showmaker trying his best to make something of this. The bubble.
All right, there it is, the bubble, but everything is thrown into Diablo to keep him alive, and even Showmaker trying, but does no damage. Another sleep bubble does come in at least, and that's about all they're gonna get. The knockback comes back on a Lucid, he gets stunned, and Diablo looking for more, as Clear is going to pick up another kill and deny him any streak there. But the game is over, and B&K are just playing with their food. But they have done what they came here to do tonight, and that is to book their ticket to the grand finals tomorrow. Down goes Diablo, he does not care. B&K 3-0, shut out DK, make it to the grand finals, and also make it to first stand.
Arguably the most one-sided series of playoffs. B&K just do not relent in pressure all across the map. In skirmishes and scraps, they were better. Their macro was better. The vision game was better. The bottom 2v2 was better. And you can make an argument that Showmaker outplayed Vikla overall in this series, and I think that's the only place you can really, truly say there was a hole here in the game plan for B&K. But you know what? He still hit that double shove. He still hit that double stun in that critical fight on the top side of the map. He still pulled it off. And B&K, the sandbox org it used to be, will have its first domestic finals. A huge win for this team to make it to challenge Genji, the only team they weren't able to beat on their way here in playoffs thus far. And maybe the second time's the charm. For D+, and all the Showmaker fans in this arena, it's a disappointing day. It's an 0-3. They just were not able to show up and make it happen. The draft reads weren't great, but the individual play didn't back it up either. And I think disappointment is probably the only word that comes to mind, as this was maybe supposed to be the resurgence, the comeback. It's been so many years since we've seen D+ in the finals, but today is not their day.
So we have huge cheers for all the guys here on B&K, as I am 100% sure they made some big fans tonight that will potentially be cheering for them tomorrow.
I promise you, there were a lot of undecided T1 fans in this arena tonight who weren't sure who to cheer for tomorrow. But the absolute domination, the way this team played, the super plays from, at times, all 5 of these players might have swayed some hearts, you know? And plus, if you're a T1 fan anyways, you don't want to root for your rival Gen G tomorrow. I think tomorrow is going to be a fantastic day. I am hoping, especially with the really strong performance we saw today here from BNK, that, like you said, maybe there is something in this. You know, maybe tomorrow isn't the walkover that everyone expects it to be.
Yeah, because this one was supposed to be close, but it wasn't. So maybe BNK is just that good right now, and maybe they can level up and power up into that final against Gen G, who have done a lot of waiting around after beating pretty much everybody that they came into challenge with. I mean, they got the one loss against DK, the one loss against BNK, but I don't know. I have a feeling that tomorrow's going to look different. Gen G still feel like the best team in this LCK Cup, but anything can happen with the momentum. They are so far ahead at this point, and it's BNK, and yet they're playing so respectful. So props to them in this moment.
I have to give credit to Kellen, how quickly he is able to identify when to ult, who to ult, because it doesn't always have to be Diablo in these fights. He bailed Vikla out of so many different situations. Clear as well, though, had a phenomenal series. This team has just leveled up. Sometimes you need a few extra reps, right? Like, this roster was unchanged, and sometimes just like a year together, and then you're ready to like really take the training wheels off, gets you to a position where you can reach new heights and break plateaus. And this team is just breaking them week after week. And I think we're not even sure what the ceiling of this squad is just yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's the real question. I feel like that's the most interesting thing that we have to look at for the future here in the LCK Cup, right? You know, how far is BNK going to go? Can Gen G stop them once again? If Gen G wins, I guess they're our top 1 by far, right? That would kind of prove that. But a lot to be decided tomorrow.
I think BNK...
Whereas I didn't expect, you know, that to be too close.
BNK have nothing to lose tomorrow. That's the truth, right? Like, if they lose, everyone will say, well, that's what we expected. For Gen G, if they lose, it'll be, you know, arguably in a lot of ways more disappointing than D+ getting shut out today, just because they were so dominant. They were incredibly successful in the group stage and really only dropped a game along the way to get here. So we will see how that series goes tomorrow. There's a lot to break down. There's a lot of opinions you and I have, as well as the Deskers I imagine have as well. As Raptor will pick up player of the match. He was my vote. I do think that the Nocturne game in particular was pretty swaying, but the Jarvan game was incredible in game 1 as well. And he was confident on the Trundle. But when everybody's playing well and the jungler is playing through Prio, it's easy to look this good, but I still think he deserved it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that Nocturne really pushed him over the edge. I thought I had a vote. I didn't, but I did go for Clear. I just felt like, you know, his Cassante was great, but also his Renekton getting a lot of stuff done. You know, it is what it is. This was a little bit more of a difficult one because everybody played so well. It's like, who do you choose? Even Diablo probably going to get some votes. Even Kellen. We were like, maybe it's Kellen. But, you know, when you play Karma and Seraphine and Lulu, it's kind of difficult to push the votes to him.
Every game,
he was awesome today.
When every game Diablo is getting champions where he has massive agency, Kellen is on 3 enchanters in a row. Clear is playing 2 out of his 3 best champions, and arguably his Cassante is one of his top 5.
Yeah.
Then that means there's probably an issue going on in draft, you know, and I think that D+ looked really good with their reads against T1, but here just looked a little bit lost. And I think D+ is a different beast. I don't think that BNK, especially what they got today and what D+ can study from this and improve on, is going to have the same sort of angle tomorrow against Gen G, but we'll have to wait and see. If Gen G makes similar mistakes, then who knows? Maybe BNK just punish all the top playoff teams and walk away with a trophy.
It really does feel like BNK, maybe next to Gen G, again, we'll get more information tomorrow, is our best drafting team at the LCK Cup. Like, they just look so very strong. But guys, we have the interview ready on stage with the team. Let's send it over to that now.
Thank you for the handoff and the amazing commentary, guys. This is Dear for the full team interview translation. We have BNK Fear X, who just took a huge win in the lower final.
掌聲俾佢哋啊！오, 다시 한번 축하드립니다.
Once again, congratulations!
梗係要訪問一下佢哋先啦。嗱，喺我身邊咧就有 Clear 啦，想問下成功入到決賽啦，你而家有咩嘅心情同感受可以同我哋大家一齊分享一下咧？
우선 승리 축하드립니다.
First of all, congratulations on your victory. You have finally secured the finals. How do you feel?
이제 큰 무대에서 이겨서 이제 또 더 높은 곳에서 여기서 한 번 더 할 수 있다는 게 너무 기쁜 것 같습니다.
可以喺一個咁大嘅舞台上面咧，
Yeah, being able to win on such a big stage and being able to play on an even bigger stage makes me so happy.
佢可以勝出嘅其中之一個原因嚟㗎。咁我哋呢個時候都唔該晒嘅 ，thank you，감사합니다。好，跟住之後就要問下 Raptor 啦，因為我好想知道你會點樣評價你自己今日嘅表現同埋你啲隊友嘅表現如何呢？
오늘 본인과 팀 경기를
And Raptor, how would you rate your own and your team's overall performance today?
도 좋은 게 많았고 스타트도 좋은 게 많았는데 좀 집중력에서 좀 아쉬웠던 것 같아서 다음 경기 더 잘해야 될 것 같아요.
我覺得我哋今日都表現得好好啦。
Yeah, I think we had a really good setup and also I think we had a great early game overall throughout the series, but I think we were lacking in terms of concentration today and
咁
focus.
就我哋一齊俾歡呼聲幫佢打下氣好唔好啊？好 ，thank you，감사합니다。之後到 Victor 啦，我想問下啦，聽日咧就對 Gen.G 咯喎，你有冇信心啊？
내일 젠지랑
Vikla, you will challenge Gen.G in the finals tomorrow. How confident are you?
내일 잘 이길 수 있을 것 같아요.
今日咧贏咗之後，我哋嘅
Honestly, I'm feeling really good. I feel like I can keep this momentum up and do really well tomorrow.
我教你一句廣東話啦，佢個廣東話咧한마디 가르쳐줄게요。聽日
I'm going to teach you something in Cantonese.
내일 봐요。係啦，咁你就
Tengyaki, which means see you tomorrow.
好，嚟감사합니다。哇，佢廣東話講得好好啊！嗰個廣東話發音咧너무 좋아요。係啊，跟住之後咧
He has such great Cantonese pronunciation.
我問下你，其實哇 ，OK，哎呀，佢怕醜啦，哎呀，嗱問下先，其實 First Stand 2026咧對你嚟講，又或者對你哋 team 嚟講，你覺得係一個點樣嘅存在，有一個咩意義咧？
오늘 승리 거두면서
And Diablo, with that victory, you have qualified for the first stand tournament. What does that mean to your team?
너무 좋은 경험이 될 것 같고요. 그다음에 또 뭔가 좀 높이 올라가야 저도 살짝 잘해진다 생각하는데 그런 점이 좋은 것 같습니다.
因為可以向住更高嘅地
Yeah, I think it's going to be such a great experience. And the further I climb, I feel like that's going to help me even grow
你
further.
有冇啲咩説話可以同咁多位現場嘅 fans 講一下咧？佢哋好中意你喎，啱啱好似係咪
오랜
啊？
동안 한국에서 그 응원해주신 팬분들께 한마디
And any message for the fans who supported you all the way?
개인 방송에서 오늘 바텀 메타 오면 우승해드린다 했었는데 내일 열심히 해가지고 한번 해보겠습니다.
Yeah, during my stream, I actually mentioned that
今次嘅勝利。
if the bottom meta comes, I will win it all. So I will do my best tomorrow.
聽日都加油 ，thank you。跟住就到 Kelly 啦，我想問下，你覺得今日嘅 POM 係邊個咧？哇，好難呢條問題。
표현 선수 누구라고 생각하시나요?
Kellen, who do you think the POM is?
오늘 대근이가 너무 잘했다고 생각해서 대근이 주고 싶습니다.
今日咧，我覺得 Diablo
Diablo did so well, so I would give it to Diablo.
咁你覺得佢玩得最好嘅原因係咩先？係啦，
제일 잘한다고 생각하는 장면이 뭘까요?
일단
What was the best moment?
스킬 따였을 때 마지막 판에 대근이가 치고 나가는 타이밍이 되게 잘 잡아가지고 스킬 따는 장면이 되게 좋았던 것 같습니다.
首先咧，我覺得佢嘅對戰都玩得好好。
Yeah.
跟住喺團
In the
隊
last
都發揮到自己。
match point, when we actually gave them one kill, I think we did really well. Diablo did so well getting that solo kill afterwards.
之後到教練，我哋 Rada 教練啊，我想問一下你，佢哋咁叻仔，有冇啲咩説話想同佢哋講呢？
고생한 팀원들에게 한 말씀만 한다면 어떤 말을 하고 싶으신가요?
And for the coach, is there anything you would like to say to your players?
내일 결승전이니까 오늘 푹 쉬고 내일도 정경기 했으면 좋겠다.
今日佢哋比賽發揮得比我想象中好啊！希望今日
Thank you so much for playing your hearts out today and doing so well. Tomorrow is the final, so let's rest up, you guys, and do well.
繼續有一個好嘅成績啊！我哋都唔該晒教練 ，Thank you。最緊要係唔該晒我哋 BFX 嘅咁多位成員同埋教練。
That was BNK FearX, who has won the lower finals and will advance to the finals tomorrow. And that's all from BNK FearX, and back to the stat desk. Thank you.